we start? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's very great to have you here back to this session, afternoon session. So we have now the fourth session. It's entitled Linguistic Theory and Teaching EFL Writing. We are still on the field of teaching and learning language. And for this session, we have 5 speakers. Okay. We have, the first one is Olga, and the second one is Thoriya Drid, and third one, Yusuf Ben Sheikh, and the fourth one is Larbi Boumedan, and the last one, Karima Ashori. Of course, before we start the first discussion, I'd like to remind you, please send your questions via the discussion box, if you have questions, of course, and the participant in this conference will answer your questions. So now let's start with the first speaker, Olga Yushchenkova. She is from the University of Taras Shevchenko National University of Kiev, Ukraine. Her discussion will be about empowering PhD students in English academic writing through genre theory and needs analysis. So the floor is yours, Dr. Yushchenkova. Yes, go ahead. Discussion.
Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for inviting me to participate in the first International Applied Linguistics Conference organized by the Department of English Language and Literature at Harvard University. My name is Olga Yushchenkova. I'm from Ukraine. I'm an associate professor of the English Philology and Intercultural Communication Department at the National University of Kiev, which is one of the oldest and biggest university in Ukraine, with almost 30,000 students. The university has 13 faculties and 8 institutes and offers a wide range of bachelor, master, and PhD degree education programs. I would like to talk today about empowering PhD students in English academic writing through genre theory and needs analysis. To get a PhD degree in Ukraine, it is not enough to attend some courses and write a PhD dissertation. PhD students are required to participate in conferences and give presentations and have at least 3 articles published in prestigious academic journals, which means that PhD students should be aware of the specifics of academic writing and be able to produce high-quality academic papers, not only in their native language, but also in English. So that is why the English academic writing course was introduced several years ago, and it was necessary to design the course to meet PhD students' needs and expectations. I conducted the research that aimed to explore PhD students' awareness of academic genres and academic writing competencies, and determine their challenges and learning needs. The following research questions guided my study. First, what are PhD students' perspectives on academic writing? Are they aware of genre differences within academic discourse? And second,
Mama?
what challenges do they face in
Mama?
clarity? What are their learning needs? The participants were PhD students from the Institute of Pedagogy, which is founded on the university. Most of them were females. They did their research in such areas as linguistics, literary studies, translation, or language education. Most of them were Ukrainian, but there were also some international students. And almost all of them were multilingual. They could speak and write at least 3 or even more languages. The study used a mixed method approach. The data were collected by a survey questionnaire and an authentic task. I developed a questionnaire that contained some demographic questions and closed and open-ended questions about PhD students' perceptions of academic writing and competencies. I also asked PhD students to find an international conference that was relevant to their research interests and write an abstract for that conference. According to the survey results, the participants mentioned the following features of good academic writing: clear thematic structure, basing the text on sources, terminological accuracy, supporting arguments with evidence, convincing arguments, and critical thinking. They also assessed their writing competencies. From this slide, you can see that all of them mentioned that they were very confident and knew how to structure their academic paper, how to choose appropriate keywords. Between 70 and 80% of the participants knew how to indicate their research focus, discuss theories, refer to sources, interpret their research results. They thought they were very good at writing in abstracts, bibliography, and knew how to write a concise, eye-catching title. At the same time, the participants mentioned some challenges in English academic writing. First of all, they had big difficulties with expressing their ideas precisely and choosing the right words in English, especially terms. Many of them could not write a stylistically appropriate and elegant paper, and it was very difficult for them to write clearly and concisely. Many participants were not able to write a good abstract in English. The participants' conference abstracts demonstrated the same strong and weak points mentioned in the survey questionnaire, but also shows the lack of knowledge about the specifics of English academic discourse and its genres. Many participants were not aware of the new structure and linguistic realizations of in English. They didn't know how to describe methods, research results, and findings, and didn't know how to conclude their papers. For many of them, it was difficult to express themselves concisely, and they were not able to stay within the work limits, and also failed to choose the appropriate keywords. The participants also mentioned the strategies they used to overcome their writing challenges. Almost 80% mentioned the importance of planning before writing. The most popular strategy was to write their paper in the native language and then use a bilingual dictionary to translate the ideas. Another popular strategy was to read English native writing and use it as a model. Some students used English dictionary to find appropriate English vocabulary. Over 60% of the participants mentioned the importance of reserving time for revision, and almost 80% mentioned the importance of asking someone for feedback. In most cases, that was their scientific supervisor. And not so many referred to English grammar books when they had to write in English. To conclude, I want to mention the importance of needs analysis, which provides an opportunity to design a successful English academic writing course that meets KG students' needs and expectations. To be efficient, this analysis should use a mixed methods approach and be based on a triangulation of research methods, data gathering techniques, and sources. Although a self-report questionnaire is a useful tool for collecting information about learning needs, it has a restricted reliability and should be used in combination with other tools in order to get more objective information. PhD students cannot always assess themselves adequately and tend to overestimate their writing competencies. Even PhD students who are fluent in English need teacher support and guidance. They may not only have difficulties with organizing and expressing their ideas clearly and concisely using appropriate vocabulary and synthetic structures, but also lack some knowledge about the distinctive features of English academic discourse and its genres. That is why using genre theory is necessary to raise PhD students' awareness of different academic genres, the specifics of their rhetorical organization and linguistic realizations in English academic discourse, which is very important in order to enhance PhD students' English academic writing skills. Well, that brings me to the end of my talk. Thank you for your attention. Now, if you have any questions, I will be glad to try to answer them. Good morning, so good afternoon.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dr. Olga, for your presentation. And of course, the topic about how to empower students in English academic writing has been an issue, open issue for all academics and teachers and learners to learn about this task. So to get the student to learn and know how to write an academic piece of writing. For example, it has been an issue and it's been difficult, especially for the foreign learners of English. So thanks a lot, Dr. Olga, for your presentation. It has been a good presentation. And now time is for the Dr. Thoraya Drid from the University of Wegla, Qasem Marbah University. Her title of discussion will be about conference abstract writing, so challenges to create scholarly impact. So she will go live with you. So the floor is yours, Dr. Thoraya. Go ahead.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to be a presenter in one of the sessions of this conference with a paper titled Conference Abstract Writing, Challenges to Create Scholarly Impact. This is connected to the track of linguistic theory in relation to language learning and teaching. Well, the idea to conduct this study came from the conference itself, the International Applied Linguistics Conference. After receiving your abstracts, well, the idea came to me from a real context, a real challenge for those who wanted to participate in the conference and were waiting for acceptance or rejection of their papers. Well, I introduce my paper by talking about the rationale. As my colleague, Dr. Olga, said that any member of academia has to be able to disseminate their research work and findings. Among the requirements of academia is to be able to write and present conference abstracts and posters. This is very important. So the idea to conduct this study emerged from the real context, which is this conference, IALC, and its theme, Improving Reality Through the Lens of Linguistic Theory. Through this study, we'll see how linguistic theory has helped us to improve reality in some context. So what is this context exactly? The real context is that researchers, who are you, the participants, from a variety of university contexts, both nationally and internationally, have attempted to research some issues related to the conference theme. They have produced miniature texts, the conference abstracts, to communicate their proposed research ideas, and they thought that their works are accepted. Here, this is the issue. Well, what is most demanding for researchers is approval of their proposals. This can be reached when the text itself complies with a well-defined expected criteria within the discourse community. Now, we refer now to linguistic theory and how it can help in resolving this issue. Particularly, genre theory in EAP, English for Academic Purposes, has much to offer regarding how these promotional research text types are constructed. The linguistic study of abstracts is a growing field of motivated by the interest of linguists to understand the mechanisms which underlie these multifunctional texts. Well, the objectives of this study are two. Firstly, to examine the extent to which the abstracts submitted to IALC conform to the general norms of conference abstract writing. And the second one, to uncover the detected problems, attempting to contribute to the production of better texts for future events, and to draw implications to enhance the learnability of these genres. And we believe that this is one of the ways in which linguistic theory can improve reality. I review the literature here by talking firstly about genre analysis. This is an approach within ESP in which the notion of genre is considered as a central notion. Genre here in genre analysis is believed to be a social construct to provide a framework for analyzing and teaching the types of written and spoken language, both written and spoken, which are said to be required in certain academic and professional settings. Genre theory has also influenced curriculum design in tertiary education. Many textbooks and courses are built on genre theory. Here, when we talk about genre, the communicative purpose is the main criterion for identifying the different types of genres. The second part of reviewing the literature is about the conference abstract itself. The conference abstract is a text written in support for an oral presentation. So on the basis of the abstract itself, it will be decided whether the presentation itself will be accepted or not. Now, what are the features of this genre? According to Swales and Fick, 2009, there are certain features. Here they are listed. The first one is the title. Then the interestingness of the topic and its novelty, the word count, condensing. Here an abstract should be condensed, and the writer should have some skill in prose writing, and most importantly, the rhetorical structure. Here, when I say the rhetorical structure, I'm speaking about the move sequences that should appear in an abstract. Move 1, according to Swales and Fick, is outlining. Here, the author problematizes and promotes the research field or the topic. Move 2, justifying the particular piece of research. Move 3, presenting methodological, demographic, and procedural comments. Move 4, summarizing the main findings. Move 5, highlighting its outcomes, results. And finally, move 6, further observations. Here we can include the implications, limitations, and future developments. In addition to these features, there are some meta-discourse markers that can enhance coherence in a conference abstract. And a next feature is the strength and the impact that the abstract creates. The inclusion of references, the citations, and finally, the issue of language accuracy and the use of current terminology. The methodology of this study is both quantitative and qualitative analysis of texts. Here I have taken a corpus of 50 abstracts submitted to this conference, which were chosen systematically for the analysis. The procedure includes certain criteria. I focus on formal features, word count, titles, language accuracy, rhetorical structure, stylistic features, citations, strength, and novelty. The results now, you see here something about the formal features, the word counts. You see in this graph, variety in the number of words. There are some abstracts which exceed or go beyond 300 words, which was required, while others contain a very, very limited rate of words, reaching sometimes 50 and or more or less, less than 100 words. Well, the second criterion is the title. The title. There are features which should be considered when writing titles. Relation to conference sessions. You see the various percentages here. 80.04 of abstracts are related to conference sessions. 76.12% reflect the content of the abstract. 36.45% abstracts whose titles indicate the case and the approach. And we notice variety between the abstracts. Coming now to language accuracy, here we have results about spelling mistakes. We have counted 45 spelling mistakes in the corpus, with the average of 0.66 mistake per abstract, and grammatical mistakes with the average of 1.35 mistake per abstract. And of course, it should be said that language accuracy creates an impression on the participants in the future by the reviewers. Finally, and most importantly, the rhetorical structure. We see here variety in the occurrence of the different moves. The most occurring move is outlining, with a percentage of 80.23%. Move 2, justifying, with a percentage of 60.36%. Move 3, methodological considerations. Here we have 44.11%. Of course, we take into account that some papers were purely theoretical, and this explains the low percentage of this move. Move 4, the same thing, the same remark applies to move 4, summarizing the results with a percentage of 30.55%. move for 5, sorry, there is a mistake here in typing, the outcomes with a percentage of 10.02%, and finally move 6 with 17.89%. We continue with the results. The use of meta-discourse markers in 79.02% of the abstracts, there are no meta-discourse markers, and this affects coherence and the introduction of the different moves in the abstract. There are some abstracts with 1 to 5 meta-discourse markers, here with a percentage of 12.45%, and those with 6 to 10 meta-discourse markers have a percentage of 8.11%. The use of citations, well, we have 90.96% of the abstracts do not contain citations. Yes, and this is very, well, it tells a lot. From 1 to 5 citations appear in 10.14%, and abstracts with, well, from 6 to 10 citations, there is no abstract with this feature. The final feature in my analysis is strength and novelty. And of course, I should say that some of the abstracts which are included in my corpus were rejected. Well, here 20.47% of abstracts are strong and original, while 73.57% are acceptable but reiterate previously dealt with topics. And finally, 6.96% of abstracts, and many of which were rejected, are weak. They do not leave impact on the reviewer. They do not convince the reviewer to accept it, and they reiterate previously dealt with topics. Now, I come to a summary of these results. The results of this investigation reveal on the whole that while some abstracts demonstrate their authors' potential to systematically construct conventional abstracts and generate strong impact, we are interested in the impact. Many other texts have, to varying degrees, inconsistencies at different planes. The format conforming to submission guidelines, rhetorical structure, language accuracy, and impact. I come now to the conclusion. We have tried in this paper to use the findings of genre analysis to measure the extent to which the abstracts submitted to IALC conference were systematically written. The goal was first to treat the sample and describe it. But most importantly, we aimed at transmitting to novice scholars, the doctoral students and junior student researchers here, that the genre of conference abstract needs more attention on their part. The results empirically, with numbers, indicate a relative lack of training to write this promotional type of academic text. One potential use of this study's findings is to raise junior scholars' rhetorical awareness of the peculiar features of conference abstracts. I believe that with satisfactory knowledge on what makes an optimal or a good conference abstract, here authors could increase their chances of participating in scholarly events by learning the art of selling their papers. These are the references. Thank you for your attention. If you have questions.
Okay, many thanks to Dr. Dreeth, who has really given us a very fruitful discussion about how to make to write a good abstract in order to make a good impact on the readers. So I would like to invite all the participants who are here now on live or with us in the amphi here to to have this discussion and to read it and over, because it is really, really fruitful. And in order in the future to avoid all your mistakes, whether grammatical or spoken, or sorry, spelling or whatever, in order to make a good abstract. So again, many thanks to Dr. Drid, and I really enjoyed her discussion about how to make a good abstract. So I shall give the floor for the next speaker, who is Yusuf Ben Sheikh from the University of Qasdi Marbah Wargla. His discussion will be about investigating adjective noun collocations in EFL learners writing. Any insightful findings? So I don't know if you want to write. So this is a recorded video.
My name is Yusuf Ben Sheikh. I am an assistant lecturer at the Linguistics of the Department of English at London University. My presentation is entitled Investigating Adjective Noun Collocations in the Writing of EFL Learners. Any insightful findings? Well, the outline of my presentation is as follows: purpose of the study, research questions, review of relevant literature, methodology, results and discussion, and finally conclusion and recommendations. Concerning the purpose of the study, the present paper is a cross-stage study with use of objective noun collocation in the writing of auxiliary syllable EFL. The course consists of 30 descriptive essays. For this purpose, a frequency-based approach was used to identify the most prevalent adjective noun pattern based on our 1998 model of categorization of lexical collocations. The present study aims to answer the following questions. What are the most frequent adjective noun collocations used by the undergraduate student of EFL in their descriptive essays? Second, it aims to find out factors influencing the production of these patterns, as well as the strategies learners opt for when dealing with these collocations. Noise stated that the fewer collocations students are able to use, the more they have to use longer expressions with much more grammatical accuracy. Communicate something which enables you to express in a precise lexical phrase and corresponding literal grammar. Collocation and two verbs. Based on non-collocation stem, those development propose 4 types of collocation, stressing that the 4th type is most important for the classroom. It is this area making strength calculation to find importance in extending learners' mental flexibility. Fortunes that unique collocation, strong collocation, weak collocation, and collocation, weak strength collocation. Last type is most right for classrooms. However, proposed another collocation can change as in from free communication and undefined pure idioms. In between, you can find restricted collocation and figurative idioms. The table below explain more with acceptance. A corpus is defined in terms of both its form and its steps. Linguists have always used the word corpus to describe a collection of naturally occurring examples of titles, consisting of anything from few sentences to a set of written texts or tape recordings, which have been collected in linguistics study. So when designing a learner course, a number of values are taken into account. learner variables, and test variables. Two variables are divided into general and specific. So some of those variables were taken into account when designing corpus for this study. Corpus description. A corpus for the present study consists of 30 descriptive essays written by second year students of English at Wellington University. All gathered essays were converted into text-based format for ease of computation processing. Titles and quotation were deleted FN. Howard, 1996, observed that learner writing, especially academic writing, is added to it. In other words, a learner is likely to draw the branch of phrases, expressions, which are character resources used. According to another research, if references and direct quotations are removed from texts in the corpus, the writing is not exactly a learner output. Now the corpus analysis procedures. Step 1, collection of the essays. Step 2, coding of the essay from E1 to E30, essay 1 to essay 30. Step 3, deletion of the quotation of titles. Step 4, conversion of the essays into TXT format. Automatic generation, frequency lists. Step 6, semi-manual extraction of lexical collocations, i.e. adjective noun collocation in the learner corpus. 7, manual checking of the collocations in three dictionaries, the Oxford, the Coventry, and the London. Step 8, automatic checking collocation in the British National Corps and in the London Corps. Step 9, the final one, is expert judgment, possible sources of collocation of errors. A total number of 168 collocations were identified across 59 were correct, by 41 were incorrect. Claiming that the correctly produced collocations could have been alphabetical exposure to the language, or they might have been positively transferred from Arabic to mother tongue of the learners. Takak and Ligak 2013 stated that different topics and genres of texts influence the lexical choice, which accounts for the presence or the absence of lexical collocation, which is the case in our corpus. For example, factors which have influenced use of collocation are element influence, positive or negative, the structural properties of collocations, and third, the degree of fixedness of these collocational factors. So the top 10 frequent adjectives in the corpus were traditional, good, beautiful, special, great, old, large, important, and big. As the figure shows, 75% of the errors are collocator-based errors, 13% are collocator-based errors, 9% collocator, both collocator and collocator-based errors. 3% is for new constructions, what other researchers call creative constructions. As you can see in the figure, 75% of the collocation errors are due to negative transfer from Arabic. 22% are due to the use of the synonym strategy. 18% to approximation strategy, while 3% due to combination of new constructions, which is referred to by other researchers creative construction. The limitations of the study, the results of the present study cannot be generalized due to the number of the text was only 30 texts, and we need larger ones. And second, one essay type descriptive essay. Third limitation is that one type of collocation was investigated in the course. The study recommendations are larger corpus, more than 30 texts, and then investigating more than one collocation type, and third, investigating collocation more than one type, essay type, eliminative, descriptive, normative, and the rest. And then investigating collocations not only in learner writing, but also experts writing. So the conference theme is improving reality through the lens of linguistic theory. The reality is that your learners don't get writing descriptive essay. Second, how to improve such reality? I propose more descriptive of connotation in writing classes, articulation, calculation, transforms.
Okay, many thanks to Mr. Ben-Sheikh. By the way, Mr. Ben-Sheikh is a lecturer at the University of Wiggler, and at the same time, he's a PhD researcher at the same university, and he's doing, at the University of Oran. Yes, Oran. I'm sorry. And he's doing his research in this area of language learning and teaching. So many thanks to him for his fruitful discussion about this topic, and it deserves reading, in fact. So now let's turn or give the turn to Dr. Darbi Boumeddan from the University of Oran II, Algeria. His title of his presentation is about techniques against the tendency of students for verbosity in written English. The case study here is taken from the students of the University of Oran II Department of English. So the floor is yours, Mr. Adal. Okay.
Students from the most English language. Against the students in the Department of English in the University Algeria. Beginners and non-beginners in foreign language writing alike are very likely to fall into the unconscious tendency of long-redundant expression, boring to read. However, any academic writing has an intended audience, which the writer should always keep in his mind by considering and focusing on what he wants to know. Teachers, however, or written expression in particular, in the Department of English and the University of Wiggler, usually explain how to implement or reduce certain rules. The objective of this research paper is to shed light on different techniques to be taught suitable for at a sentence level for more fluidity. Research on the subject reached theories evidencing that the document of diversity can be effectively communicating with fact, whatever the discipline of language is. The graphical documents are theoretical and practical as far as the English language is concerned, but with a certain gap that might be very trying to think. The multiple examples provide the evaluations of articles seem to be readily and purpose to be made by the authors of these documents. The present research paper bears focus on personal experience teaching English at university. My examples are relatively more typical of how from my undergrad students' we propose is the use of numbers and question which also refers to us. Language development with precision and brevity of all forms of good style. For instance, the word although has the most form in the phrase in spite of the fact that. That's much to meaning as in working on fruit and collaborating together. The idea of working on fruit and that the working together are already included in working and collaborating on the methodology. Data, research, try to make the necessary explanations. They will correct the few mistakes the teacher that to the very evidence suggested correction and formulated only assume that the warning and expected Answer was decided to be unconsciously repeated. The key to is to become able to put what's right without leaving out such words or phrases in such a way as every mentioned word serves the purpose and contributes to its text. Students are asking the voice of abstract words and phrases, having noticed such a wonderful in line with this, they may offer useless compliments to the clients, such as income, which is really personally. One of the elements with some clearer than phrases, standing either on prepositions, adverbs, or conjunctions. Any expression with does, now, if then with reference with has the effect of at this moment of time, in the event that, or in the near future. Another, the word sentence produced by the student is rhetoric has definitely the the concise formulation of this sentence may be the British student has the prerequisite instance for the important competence. Instead to have such and such there needs to be no doubt of its usefulness. Certainty is already implicit in the British model has a prerequisite British experience. So, it's not that it's The absence there must be, and it must be present. And I'm also receiving. Since this failure to write the gentleman is waiting for you, writes a little bit there, then there is a gentleman outside that is waiting for you. It is also less the best to say the parents are revolutionize the traditionality, then it is to be very important to revolutionize the traditionality. Students may use one-word verbs rather than using the noun verbs of long predicates. For instance, sentence Queen Elizabeth I needed a lot of language to defend her kingdom is clearer than Queen Elizabeth I found herself in need of a lot of money to ensure the defense of her kingdom. It is also more suitable to use verb style than noun style. For example, King Charles I left the States, independent of his subjects, and imprisoned hundreds of others. Is less worthy than King Charles I was responsible for subversion, the killing of hundreds of his subjects, and the imprisonment of hundreds others. Students are also recommended to use noun verbs instead of the longer noun phrases containing articles, pronouns, verbs, or prepositions. Here are some examples. It is clearer and more concise to say steam generation process than process in which steam is generated. It is clearer and more concise to say Church of the State Church, then Church of the State of England under the reign of the Tudors. Implications, students may have to become more curious and attempt to discover the meaning of every word, and as words be combined, carrying as such along the abundance of overstatement caused by semantically related patterns occurring in one sentence. This research paper urged that learners should make the right choice of least enough words by studying both word and not its meanings. Students get more committed to rereading, editing, and redrafting to be done before submitting any papers supposed to be in academic English. Conclusion. By way of conclusion, the Novelty makes reading uneasy and understanding writing optional. Students in the important presentation was around a second are taught the need to spell the system by compressing expression into the least possible words, conveying in direct language. In other words, by omitting what the reader has the research findings may be samples helpful secondary demonstrate students to write properly the revolutionary words and immediately occurred for perfect exams in which academic English is essentially required and highly evaluated. Thank you very much for listening. Students who are most
Okay, thanks a lot, Dr. Larbi Boumeddan, for your
thank you very much.
genuine and compelling discussion about how to get rid of verbosity in written English. Verbosity, most of the foreign student or second learner of English are suffering from, because to get, for example, to write an essay, meaningful essay in, for example, in 5 or 6 lines, and to get it in 1 or 2 lines, that's very difficult. It's about appropriateness and about the relevance of exactness. Yes, this is a big issue that all the second learners are suffering from. So thanks a lot again for the Dr. Larbi Boumeddan for his discussion.
You are welcome.
Thanks a lot. So I shall give turn to the last speaker, who is Dr. Karima Ashuri from the University of Biskra, Muhammad Khidr. And the title of her presentation is Bridging the Gap Between Theory and Practice enhancing the students' writing performance through a 4-phase process. So let's get started with Dr. Karima Chouri. Yes, go.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Karima Chouri from Discourse University. Hope you are doing well. So, before moving any further, I would like first to thank the organizers of this international conference for giving me this opportunity to share with you my information, which is entitled Bridging the Gap Between Theory and Practice, Enhancing the Students' Writing Performances Through a 4-phase Process. So, the presentation is organized as shown here in this slide. Right. At the present time, the concept of students autonomy requires significant improvements. However, when we have autonomy, I mean, students' autonomy requires a redefinition of classroom teaching, which is a tool to think about ways that could urge them students to be more precise in developing a philosophy of autonomy rather than of the presence. This philosophy goes primarily for a lifelong learning. First, I would like to emphasize that the 4-phase process in this study is simply referred to the process approach, to the different stages of the process approach, in which writing seems to be a never completed task at a one sitting. Under the benefits of this approach, writing requires both time and feedback to be done well. However, because of many constraints in writing classrooms, teachers are most often focusing on the final product rather than the different stages that the students should go through. Correspondingly, this study aims to help the students to reflect, discuss their writing, and to write successful drafts until they reach the required written outputs. It then does well to measure the effect of these phases on developing the students' writing abilities. The questions raised here are, how does the 4-phase process influence EFL students' writing abilities, and what do students like it best about the 4-phase process in writing classrooms? According to the addressed questions, the following hypotheses have been put to it. The alternative hypothesis suggested that there will be a statistically significant difference in the students' writing skills with regard to coherence, content, grammar, and mechanic skills after the exposure to the intervention. And as far as the null hypothesis is concerned, it suggested that there will be no difference between the two main schools after the intervention. To this end, a pre-exposed test design, which was within the principles of the quasi experimental research, was conducted by 32 students enrolled at the same university. After the pre-test, a focus group interview was conducted with 10 students. This slide clearly shows the different procedures that have been followed during the realization of this small-scale study. Step 1, the drafting step. The teacher here gives the students time to think and answer a problematic question, while the students tend to make individual reflection, writing the first drafts on the basis of their knowledge, the nature of the question, and the degree of complexity. Step 2, the revising step. The teacher here asks the students to revise their drafts according to the received feedback. In this, step, or during this step, students are going to put much emphasis on both coherence and content. Coherence, which refers to the logical development of ideas, while content refers to the adequate development of the topic, the knowledge of the subject. Afterwards, students are supposed to write the final version of their writing. In statistical terms, this table shows that after the intervention, an improvement was recorded as the mean score of the post-test is higher than that of the pre-test. In this table, it can be seen that the p-value is negative 4.916 with a degree of a freedom of 31 levels, which correlates to a small significant value 0.000, which itself is less than 0.05. Therefore, low probability that the null hypothesis is true, the null hypothesis, which indicates that there is no significant difference between the two schools. It can be said of proof that the null hypothesis is rejected, hence the alternative hypothesis is accepted. In terms of correlative data, students reported that during the 4 stages of the process approach, they were actively engaged in writing in classrooms. The 4 stages helped them to develop their ability to consider others' points of view. It provided them with a positive and enriched atmosphere. It helped them to fill some gaps in their knowledge, and it fostered their critical thinking skills as well. From what I've said, it can be seen that both quantitative and qualitative data are comparable in the sense that both of them show positive results concerning the use of the full-phase process. This proved the students' readiness to discover a much enjoyable way of learning through which they become more motivated and independent. In a sense, this writing is a skill which is social data. Teachers are told how to adapt a teaching approach to critical data. They have to adjust to the new circumstances and make that students feel challenged and more fluent in order to develop their knowledge and other skills such as the critical thinking skills and to enable them to survive in a world of globalization. So my presentation comes to an end, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for your kind attention.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dr. Karima Ashuri, for your presentation. It's been a very good presentation about how to bridge the gap between theory and practice when it comes to write. So, so now time is the open debate for questions. So we have a question here for Dr. Dreed. What is the #1 feature that makes a reviewer convinced of an abstract? This is a very interesting question. So Dr. Dreed can answer this question. Yes. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for asking this pertinent question. I believe that the features are inseparable because it is one impact that is created. But on the whole, a good abstract should have good language, and it should respect conventional structure, because the writer of the abstract is a member of a discourse community, the academic discourse community, and that's why here the discourse community has some expectations. If these expectations are not met concerning the structure of the abstract itself, here the writer will be like an outsider from this community. So you should strive to gain your membership in your discourse community. Also, another component that really makes the abstract acceptable or accepted is being able to problematize, providing a good rationale, and treating, showing a gap in the in research, and showing how your study is going to fill in this gap, how your presentation is going to add something new. So these are the elements that cannot be separated from each other when writing a good abstract. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Dreed, for your answer. So we have another interesting question for Olga, Dr. Olga. Please, if she is here online with us. So the question is, how should we train our PhD students in writing an abstract? So it's about training, how we train our PhD students to have a good abstract. So the floor is yours, Olga.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for this question. How can we train? First, we have to consider the specifics of academic discourse in general, and then to discuss different types of genre within this genre discourse and focus on abstract So as usual, we discuss different types of abstracts, its specifics, its structure. So what Dr. Dreed talked today, yes, different moves. So the students should be aware of the specifics, and also we can use articles and abstracts written by native speakers, by scholars who come from English-speaking countries, just to use their abstracts as good models. Certainly we have practice. Yes, so just the students should receive the task, and write an abstract to a certain conference. And again, we have to distinguish between structured, unstructured, and different requirements. And also, I think it's important to consider the cultural differences, because how to write the abstract in different countries. These may have some specifics, you know. So, and it's important for the students to be aware of these differences as well.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Dr. Olga, for your answer. And I'd like to comment on your language, if you permit me, please. You've got a very, very good language, even the pronunciation.
Okay,
as
thank
if you seem native speaker, British
you.
or American. Yes, it's very attractive. Thanks a lot, Dr. Olga. So if there is no more questions, so we have to close this session because we are working against time. No questions? So, okay. I would like to thank again all the speakers for this session and for their patience and for their contribution. It's been very insightful and marvelous to have you live with us. Thanks a lot, and I shall see you in next occasion. Thanks a lot.
So good afternoon. First, I would like to welcome you all to this session. We are delighted to meet you again. I am Mr. Yusuf bin Sheikh from the Department of English, Qasim Mirbahi University. I'll be sharing session number 5 of this conference. We have 5 speakers on this panel. I invite them virtually to attend the session while the video recorded presentation are played. After the presentations, we will have time for debate, questions and answers in no more than 15 minutes. Now, we immediately start the presentation. We just remind you, the attendant, that all the questions can be sent via the discussion box. They will be collected and read by the chairperson. So we'll start by the first. The session is titled Linguistic Theory and Teaching EFL Writing. The first presentation will be by Marwa Rukti and Leila Diab. So the floor is yours, Marwa Rukti and Leila Diab.
In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, good morning, everyone. I hope everything is doing well for you today. I'm delighted to take part in the first International Applied Linguistics Conference, and I appreciate this good initiative on the part of the Department of English at the University of Puebla. This communication is represented by the corresponding author, myself, which is entitled Prospects for Close Delivery of Effective Awareness in Academic Writing. So before I start my communication, I would like to spare a minute to identify my motivation towards my participation in the conference. Also, what motivated me to choose this topic. So, as language teaching derives from linguistics, the science of language, applied linguistics contributes to the theory and practice of English language teaching through its aspects and subfields, such as psycholinguistics, social linguistics, and structural linguistics. The latter refers to analyzing language using formal approaches and describing it according to its structure. In effect, structural linguistics involves collecting a corpus of utterances and then classifying all the elements of the corpus at their diverse linguistic level, which are morphemes, phonemes, lexics, and syntax. So, as I'm concerned with teaching English as a foreign language in higher education, I managed to program my attention on the linguistic devices which indicate the structural meaning of language, such as word form, word function, word order, and grammar structure. Therefore, I managed to make a correlation between English writing skills and structural grammar. So the presentation will uncover a background and introduction to the research, identifying the problem and aim of the research question and hypothesis, identifying the research design and the methodology of research, going over discussing the findings, and finally providing some recommendations and concluding notes. For the background of the study, we shall identify the relationship between linguistics, writing skills, and teaching English as a foreign language. So, as we are all aware that writing can be a good aspect of integration. It can be used to practice grammatical rules. As in the IALC context, learners are required by the means of written English to express themselves at a precise level of grammatical accuracy in their writing, and this can be more than in their spoken language or discourse. This can be reason enough for students to get confused with these requirements in their written productions. So students also may struggle to write a good piece of writing, which will ensure good writing competence. For example, they may encounter properly organized ideas, as writing needs unity and reasonable organizational sequence. They also may find difficulties in grammar, which can influence particular patterns of how words are put together for correct sentences. And this can make ideas develop well and make the text more readable. In the IALC classes, teachers may struggle to engage their students to write effectively, and this might be because writing can be considered as one of the most difficult skills. Therefore, the purpose of the study is contextualized within the frame of teaching English as a foreign language in Algerian classes, as the study is carried out with the aim of investigating the significance of fostering young students to be highly competent in writing to the level of their syntactic awareness. Also, it aims at examining the impact of learning grammatical aspects separately on the student's writing. For the sake of efficiency in handling the matter at hand, the present research will seek answer to the question of to what extent can efficient writing be affected by the level of syntactic awareness of EFL students. Besides, the hypothesis on which the study is based on runs as follows. Students can use the grammatical aspects they acquire in previous contexts in the writing, as they can make continuous practice and efforts for applying grammatical rules in their writings. And this can be in order to be competent in grammar use on the one hand, and to make good and relevant writing performance on the other hand. So to validate this hypothesis, a research work has been undertaken on the IALC network with second-year students who represent the whole population of the research. So the theoretical work of the study involves the incorporation of two research variables, syntactic awareness and writing performance. Syntactic awareness is the main focus of the study, for we tend to classify these variables and measure them through an ordinal scale of measurement to see the impact of one variable on the other. While the field work of the study involves identifying the problem of the research and building appropriate design methods to approach it. So in this study, we have chosen practical tools based on the availability of the research population and level of difficulty of the research problem. Besides, the findings of the study are more interpreted and analyzed through inductive analysis due to the use of qualitative research tools. So this study attempts to use a particular design which best fits its empirical nature. It starts with a research problem and ends with a tentative empirical research investigation. It adapts mixed methods design, which includes both qualitative and quantitative data collection analysis, to generate theory through a qualitative approach and to be able to answer complementary questions. So prior to the use of both approaches, we have opted for an experimental test and documentation tool to achieve the aim of the study, which is to investigate the significance of forcing students to be competent in writing through the level of their syntactic awareness. The findings of the study show that only some students are facing some difficulties in writing their assignment in terms of language use, writing techniques and skills, and grammatical awareness. Based on the analysis of qualitative and quantitative data, some students are facing difficulties in writing assignments. This can be due to teaching grammar separately from writing. In grammar classes, students are directed through tasks in which they can respond to questions about grammar reasonably because they are not complex and are not included within sentences or short paragraphs. Whereas in long assignments like essays, students tend to provide meaningful ideas and sentences that are more deeply related and connected. So the weak findings in the written assignments of students can be due to their lack of awareness about grammatical aspects of the English language. Some students write correct sentences that are not well structured and not linked to form a coherent paragraph. And some write incomplete sentences, others write few lines and not coherent paragraphs. Some students' language is highly influenced by their second language, which is French, and they include French words either consciously or unconsciously. So some students didn't make efforts and training to write, others are already weak in grammar. Hence, the students who succeeded in writing good assignments with good language grammar use scored high in the average and in the test because of their training and also practicing well in writing skills, or even reading to learn vocabulary and use appropriate diction to have a good writing performance. Also, these students have been highly self-trained to write assignments and subsequently became highly aware of grammatical aspects of the English language. So the results of the study prove that most students have been aware of incorporating a good amount of grammar knowledge into their written discourse. The highest mean scores regarding word order and grammar use reveal that most students are aware of grammatical aspects without having further feedback or guidance on the part of the teacher to learn in their writing classes. So learning grammar separately from writing can to some extent help students produce a good writing performance, as they should be more aware of the ways of learning grammar effectively. Students also should make practice and efforts to train themselves in writing pieces by incorporating all what they have learned in grammar classes, as their grammatical awareness proved to be deeply related to the quality of their writing. Also, the study can set the agenda for further research in grammar and writing correlation in the and classroom, as it offered fundamental practical implications for students to develop grammar competency in their writing classes. The further research can be therefore conducted on how can this linguistic issue be discussed and practiced in higher education, or higher college education in particular. So ultimately, being aware of how to write, how to organize, how to order and relate words and sentences is necessary, but not sufficient if the student doesn't have control over the writing techniques and features such as unity, cohesion, style of writing, verbs, and planning. So regarding the good use of sentence structure, textuality, and text format, students should be aware of cohesion and coherence, which characterize each piece of writing. It refers to a straight line of development and through which ideas are clearly related to each other in organized sequence or structure. So each main idea can be developed through deriving each sentence from the other through a flow for building on what has been said. So for the appendices part, we have provided the text which has been given to the students and the example of the student's paragraph. Finally, I would like to thank you for your attention, as your feedback and questions are welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Marwa Rukti and Leila Diab. for your presentation. Now we move forward to the presentation by Dr. Yusra Siddiqui and Muna Tathiza Tijani.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Good evening everybody and welcome to my presentation. My name is Dr. Yusra Siddiqui and I am a lecturer professor at Qadim al-Bahi University, Algeria. The topic of my presentation is the role of developing undergraduate EFL students' academic writing techniques and strategies in writing a dissertation. At the beginning, I would like to present the outline of this study, which is divided into two main parts: the literature review and the applications. Within this literature review, we try to explain the two main variables of this study, which are the academic writing and dissertation writing. First of all, we talk about the concept of academic writing. What we mean by academic writing, the purpose of teaching academic writing for EFL students, types of academic writing. Second, we will look at the concept of dissertation. What is a dissertation? What do you mean by a dissertation writing? The purpose of writing a dissertation, parts of the dissertation, and last but not least, the techniques of documenting information and reporting findings from other sources, such as summarizing, paraphrasing, quoting, tables, figures, graphs, charts, and organizational charts, flow charts, etc. And finally, some applications for this study. Within the framework of English for general academic purposes, academic writing is considered as one of the most challenging skills in language learning, but has become an international requirement. It is an umbrella term for all formal writing that is used at any educational field, such as schools, universities, etc. Thus, academic writing has become a very important issue for undergraduate students who are seeking to present different writing assignments to achieve specific academic needs, such as writing a dissertation, which is one of the substantial issues in the teaching of academic writing. Writing a dissertation plays a crucial role for undergraduate students as a means of achieving students' academic studies as well as improving their academic writing. Moreover, writing a dissertation is perceived as a difficult task for EFL students to produce, especially for those who do not know how to construct its main methodological features, grammar, introduction, methodology, results, and discussion, or to use its fundamental techniques and strategy of documenting or reporting findings from other sources, such as summarizing, paraphrasing, quoting, using tables, figures, graphs, in order to avoid plagiarism and to add credibility and validity to your academic work. This paper aims at presenting the different difficulties that undergraduate EFL students may face when writing a dissertation. Additionally, it aims to discuss the different academic characteristics in math and the most important techniques of documenting and reporting findings from other sources when writing a dissertation. Let's also review academic writing. Academic writing is an umbrella term for all formal writing that is used in educational fields such as schools, universities, etc. Academic writing is a formal way of jotting down thoughts and ideas for purpose in educational fields, either from native or non-native speakers. Taking into consideration its essential aspects such as content, format, sentence structure, vocabulary, etc. Academic writing for undergraduate, native or non-native students has several reasons. It improves students' research skills assess preferences, control, and debate. How to present an academic piece of research, and how to discuss and synthesize a topic academically. Types of academic writing. There are journals of academic writing students are required to produce during different academic settings, such as essays, research papers, reviews, CVs, letters, summaries, dissertations, reports, and many other types, depending on the purpose and the audience. According to Terry Berry 2005, he indicates that generally in academic writing, usually we write in either of two areas, to inform or to persuade. To Richards and Miller 2005, there are 4 branch categories of writing that participating educators must produce at one time or another. These categories are shown in figure number 1. The following graph clearly shows that professional or academic writing is divided into 4 main types. The first one, job-related writing, such as letters of recommendations, class handout, exams, and memos. The second one, high-class writing, such as curriculum vitae, letters of application, and resume. Writing to tell stories and reports. Example, research about teaching, research projects, and journals. Writing in graduate school, like essays, abstract, master research, and doctoral dissertations. Moving on to the second variable, which is dissertation writing. A dissertation is a formal piece of research, a specific type of investigation, a systematic process of collecting and analyzing data in order to learn an issue, from 2006. This academic document is submitted by students during their academic career, generally at university, in order to achieve an academic degree, such as a bachelor degree, master's degree, etc. It is a shift point of students' position from the academic life into the professional. The purpose of writing a dissertation. Lopez and Greta, 2009, emphasized that a dissertation is a means to get students to their professional life. It engages them to learn and acquire the abilities and skills and to prepare an authentic piece of research. In addition to the following capacities, review and summarize literature, generate questions and hypotheses, identify or define problems, think and write critically and coherently, collect data properly, discuss findings. Parts of a dissertation. An academic dissertation is characterized by a set of common features. They are called the standard format of a dissertation: introduction, body, and conclusion. Moving from the general to the specific and back to the general. Researchers shifted their attention towards a new tendency, which is the so-called IMRAG approach: introduction, methodology, results, and discussion. This approach was developed in 1972-1975 by the American National Standards Institute. It is used to describe the conventional structure of scientific paper. The following figure presents the main format of a dissertation paper. It is divided into the following 5 main parts. Introduction. It presents and organizes background information from the general to the specific. It contains the following elements such as statement of the problem, purpose, significance, literature review, research questions, hypothesis, tools of research. Literature review. It presents the summary of all the researchers' works. It displays facts and findings. It summarizes the main points. The methodology, it describes how you conduct your study and the methods you use to collect and analyze the data. It presents the methods, procedures, materials, and subjects used in this study or in the study. Results, it contains the process of research, findings, data collections, and the investigation outcomes. It presents the results, description, analysis, synthesize, and evaluation of the results. And last but not least, discussion and conclusion. It provides the reader with the explanation or the interpretation of the researcher's findings. It shows the connection between the head and the results. It assesses in the light of the results of the research objective, hypothesis, and literature review. Mix of documented and reported information from other sources. A dissertation that undergraduate students prepare is not a new study, but it is a new presentation based on other researchers' work. With the writer's personal touch, it reflects students' proofreading of different sources, understanding and thinking. Different techniques of documented information can be used to refer to other relevant sources in academic writing assignments, such as summarizing, paraphrasing, quoting, figures, charts, etc. What do you mean by summarizing? What are the most main steps of summarizing? How to create a great summary? Also, what is the difference between summarizing and paraphrasing? What do you mean by paraphrasing? How can you paraphrase an academic document? How to use quotations and to avoid plagiarism? What is the difference between direct quotation and indirect one? And how to put a quotation in academic written paper? Also, what is a table? What do you mean by a table? How can you use tables? Do you use tables? The function of tables in dissertation. Moving on to figures. What are the most or the main different types of figures, such as graphs, charts, maps, photographs, etc.? When should we use graphs and charts, circle pie charts, and also bar charts, organizational charts, flow chart, and how can researchers use them while writing an academic dissertation paper? Features of the study. Undergraduate EFL students may face different difficulties when writing a dissertation. Thus, we think that developing EFL undergraduate students' academic writing techniques and study strategies can improve consequently their dissertation writing level. Therefore, teachers should teach undergraduate EFL students not only the academic writing characteristics such as grammar, vocabulary, mechanics, cautious writing, and the like, but also the main features that characterize a dissertation, the various efficient academic writing techniques of documented information from other sources, such as summarizing, paraphrasing, and quoting, and the different strategies of reporting findings from other sources, like tables, figures, graphs, and charts. Teachers should raise the undergraduate EFL students' awareness of the importance of writing and academic assignments in general and dissertation in particular through developing their academic written capacities from the beginning, not only after the graduation stage. Foreign language syllabus must be more developed, and teachers should incorporate the fundamental academic writing features, parts, techniques, and strategies in their classes from the bachelor's degree to the master's degree. To conclude, we can say that developing EFL undergraduate students' academic writing techniques and strategies can improve students' level in academic field in general and dissertation writing in particular.
Thank you, Dr. Siddiqui and Dr. Hiza Tijani. Now we move forward to the third presentation by Dr. Sabrina Saighi. So, the floor is yours, Dr. Sabrina Saighi.
The title of this presentation is The Use of Discourse Markers in Developing Writing, presented by Dr. Sabrina Saighi. So we will start with the abstract. Writing is one of the four language skills, which is important either for listening or teaching. It is important for SL students as they need it either in their academic life or professional life. Many devices such as reference, ellipsis, substitution, and discourse markers are used in writing in order to write coherently and cohesively. Therefore, the aim of this paper is to focus on the role of discourse markers in developing student writing. The work provides some theoretical background of the issue. The keywords: writing, discourse, discourse analysis, and discourse markers. Among the other skills, writing is considered as the most difficult skill to master for secondary language learners. The difficulty lies in translating the author ideas into the written text. There have been many approaches in teacher writing. However, they have adopted a discourse perspective. Why? Since discourse analysis is an eclectic approach that combines theory, fiction, and a context. Using discourse models in writing will enable learners to communicate effectively. And we want to write them to write intelligent and coherent paragraphs. In the same way, we will refine discourse analysis, discourse markers, and we will list some examples, and finally, we will define the writing skill. What do you mean by discourse analysis? Traditionally, they used to focus on the sentence itself. A sentence without context. However, this intellect has changed into a focus on the larger meaning system, which is called discourse. So what do you mean by the discourse? A discourse is pieces of language longer than a sentence. These applied linguistics have found that linguistics items alone are not enough. What is important is using each linguistics item in their context of use. This kind of interest has brought discourse analysis as an approach to language teaching, since the focus was on the teacher-sentential relationship rather than the teacher-sentential relationship. What do you mean by this? So the focus was within the center. However, when the discourse analysis comes to the scene, it becomes the focus on the relationship that within the sentence and above the sentence and beyond the sentence. So the focus now is the sentence on its context of use. Therefore, rather than you define the skills as the analysis of language in use. So what do we mean? We believe that the use of the language is important. The use of language is important. Rather than the focus on the language itself. That is to say, linguistic forms may have different functions in a different context. Because of this, we have suggested using discourse analysis as an approach to teacher writing. To write a good paragraph, it has to be unified, coherent, and developed adequately. A coherent paragraph needs the use of discourse markers. So what do we mean by discourse markers? Discourse markers are linguistic expressions such as well, so, that connect between the current message and previous discourse. Each discourse marker has a certain function. First of all, they can introduce or clarify a topic and show divisions and changes of the topic. Second, they show the kind of ongoing communication. Third, they can show both the writer action of his writing and the reader expectation. Here a list of some discrete markers with reference to, however, similarly, certainly, noted, on the contrary, anyhow, by the way, as I was saying, first of all, in addition, in general, for example, I mean, you know, frankly, after all, in conclusion, and so many others. Third, we will define the writing skill. Traditionally, writing was regarded as a language skill that signifies learning grammatical and vocabulary knowledge, which in turn helped to achieve oral correctness. So based on this kind of view, teacher they need to focus on formal correctness of student writing rather than the actual process of writing. That is to say, teachers used to correct students' error, that's it, rather than the focus on the writing itself. However, the view has changed through time. The focus now is seeing writing as a process rather than a product. So writing now is seen as dynamic, creative, and a contextualized process of communication meaning. So now writing is the aim of writing is to communicate meaning. It's understand something through writing. Therefore, writing is an active process that is composed of four basic stages: learning, drafting, revising, and editing. Finally, how to develop writing through using discourse markers. Children said that knowledge about discourse markers and other things is used to enhance writing skills. Therefore, in order to develop a writing skill, it is important to use discourse markers appropriately. Hence, we suggest that learners need to know about discourse markers and the different features in different contexts of use. Since one discourse markers might have various functions. So practice is the most important. Developing writing is difficult aspect in language teaching. Therefore, teachers should take into consideration the learner's needs. This presentation of those only some discourse markers and the role in enhancing writing. It gives only some theoretical background. However, I advise other researchers to try to investigate the frequency of use of these discourse markers in student essays, and if they are using them appropriately. To conclude, using discourse markers will enable learners to write scoring paragraphs and thus communicate their thoughts properly. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sabrina Saighi. Now we move forward to Amina Amrani. So we're all listening to Dr. Amina Amrani.
Hello everybody, I'd like to introduce my paper entitled Improving ESP Students' Writing Skills Through Cooperative Learning Instruction and Peer Feedback Technique. The need for learning English has increased greatly due to its status as an important tool of communication in different domains, along with being a lingua franca. Accordingly, university students demand for learning English for specific purposes in their preparation for future career skills has widened. In this context, among the skills that students have to master, writing is the most challenging. Consequently, recent empirical studies held in Algerian universities reveal that students suffer from low proficiency at writing and lack motivation towards learning this skill. Thus, the present study aims at investigating the effectiveness of incorporating peer feedback technique within cooperative learning model in ESP classrooms in enhancing students' writing competency. Also, it accounts for the efficiency of scale and feedback in promoting ESP students' motivation and attitudes towards learning the writing skill. In order to achieve these aims, the researcher formulated the following research questions. First, to what extent does the incorporation of peer feedback technique within cooperative learning model in ESP classrooms enhance student writing competency? Second, is the implementation of peer feedback and cooperative learning in ESP classrooms efficient in promoting students' motivation towards learning the writing skill? The importance of writing skill for EFL students in general and ESP students in particular. Being an essential medium of communicating one's ideas, writing holds an influential position in students' course, starting from primary education till tertiary one, and it goes beyond that to affect their careers as well. Hence, when having strong writing skills, students will enhance their chances of academic success. In addition to that, the mastery of writing skill does not affect only students' academic achievements, but it also has a great impact on their future careers. Therefore, this skill should be developed and sharpened in any language course, especially ESP courses, which have the aim of preparing students to fulfill the requirements of their future jobs. Writing is a complex cognitive activity in which writers are required to control a variety of variables simultaneously. Hence, when they write, students face several difficulties that prevent them from producing correct, accurate, and appropriate text. And the difficulty in producing an academic piece of writing might be related to different factors and aspects of language, such as grammar, vocabulary, spelling and punctuation, organization and clarity, in addition to first language interference. In addition to the mentioned writing difficulties, ESP writing poses other challenges for students. The first writing difficulty imposed by ESP context concerns ESP teachers. The problem is that the vast majority of teachers who give ESP courses in most Algerian universities have been prepared to teach general English. Hence, when asked to teach ESP courses, these teachers may find this shift as a hard task or even a shock. Also, teachers using knowledge about the writing genre specific to the ESP domain they are teaching may result in a poor teaching learning of experience of writing, since ESP students are concerned with the communicative needs of particular academic and professional groups. Also, we can list other teaching constraints that belong particularly to the Algerian context, such as the status of ESP courses, which are considered as less important and of a secondary position. ESP courses are usually scheduled at the last course of the day or even the last course of the week, which may have a negative impact on students' motivation and attendance. Also, the group size. ESP teachers find themselves teaching large classes with mixed ability students. Also, there is materials availability and students' low level of language proficiency and lack of motivation for learning English. Since the teaching of ESP writing in Algerian universities seems to have its own requirements and challenges, the researcher introduced a feedback technique and cooperative learning instruction as a remedy to the existing obstacles which hamper the effective teaching of writing skills in ESP classes. Of course, first we start with defining the concepts of cooperative learning and peer feedback. According to Johnson and Smith, cooperative learning is an instruction that involves students working in small, carefully structured groups to achieve a common goal with the aim of maximizing their own and each other's learning. While peer feedback is a method to urge correction in which students help one another when experiencing difficulties in a cooperative way and not a competitive one, while the teacher remains only as the monitor and guides the students. This important stage of cooperative writing involves peer editing, peer evaluation, and peer response as well. Now we move to the research-based benefits of peer feedback and cooperative learning in enhancing ESP students' writing. The findings of studies on the effectiveness of incorporating CL and PM in ESP writing classes are not different from those which tested its efficiency in enhancing general English students' writing ability. When in a study that aimed at improving timely students' English writing skills for business, reported that students who were engaged in the cooperative writing sessions gained high mastery in business writing. They also developed interest in language learning and acquired collaborative skills needed for the success in the workplace. Also, Yumi and Irina investigated the effects of incorporating cooperative writing in Japanese EFL classroom of science English in promoting their writing fluency. The findings of the study revealed that the implementation of cooperative learning has positive effects in enhancing students' writing competence through increasing their self-confidence towards their writing abilities. Moreover, Germany, in a study that investigated the effectiveness of using online collaborative ESP writing tasks in developing students' writing ability and attitudes towards ESP writing, declared that the students who took a course in writing for business and commercial correspondence were disinterested, unmotivated, and under pressure when they were engaged in solitary writing activities. Besides, the writing product was far below satisfactory. Yet, after the implementation of online collaborative ESP writing tasks, the researcher declared that the online collaborative writing tools had a great impact in enhancing ESP students' writing ability and attitudes towards EFL and ESP writing. On the other hand, concerning the effects of peer feedback on ESP students' writing performance, Moore and Kippel stated that the implementation of peer interaction in the writing course had positive effects on students' collaborative ideas generation and sentence construction. It also helped them develop a better understanding of the writing assignment topics, which resulted in the production of creative and accurate texts. Also, in an empirical study that investigated the effects of peer reviewing on some EFL students' writing apprehension and essay writing ability, Jenny reported that the incorporation of peer reviewing in EFL writing classes had positive impacts on experimental group participants' writing apprehension and writing ability. Thus, the implementation of peer review technique in ESP courses will aid students overcome grammar, spelling, and punctuation difficulties through the help and effective feedback of their peers. The findings explored within the review of literature of both theoretical and empirical studies that investigated the effectiveness of cooperative learning instruction and peer feedback technique in enhancing ESP students' writing performance show that these teaching methods are effective tools that can be incorporated in ESP writing courses. Hence, CL and PF, when implemented effectively within ESP writing classes, do not only maximize the learning and enhancement of the writing skill, but they also improve students' motivation and attitudes towards the learning of writing skills. Furthermore, Cooperative learning activities develop ESC students' communication and interaction skills, which will make them survive in their professional careers in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Amina Amrani. Now we move to the fifth presentation by Sarah Laish, and then we'll have time for the debate.
Here is Miss Laish from Linguistic University. First of all, I would like to express my gratefulness for being part in this critical hearing, as well as to thank the organizing committee for their enormous efforts to enroll such conference in such circumstances. Well, problems about teaching and learning, method chapters are endless. One major problem in the method classroom is teaching learning instance. In this presentation, I would like to shed light on strategy which should enhance our language learning performance. Here is the content of my presentation. I talk about the teaching environment, the constructivist approach, the problems and aim, the procedures, and the major results. Constructivism is a radical shift from education based on behaviorism to education based on cognitive theory. Here, the constructivist epistemology assumes that learners construct their own knowledge on the basis of interaction with their environment. Here, the shift is from the teacher-oriented process to more academic in which studies show that constructivist theory and the application of constructivist theories can be effective across subjects to enhance academic abilities, and to promote the skills, the learner's skills, competencies, and social relatedness. Here the term constructivism deals with the learners, the knowledge has been physically constructed by learners who are involved in active learning. It also refers to the knowledge as symbolically constructed by learners who are making their own representations of actions, and the knowledge as a social construction by learners who convey their meaning, making to others. And finally, that the language being theoretically constructed by the learners who try to explain things they don't completely understand. Here is the constructivist learning design. Including the situation, the event, the bridge, the task, exhibition, and reflection. These elements are designed to promote teacher plan and reflection about the process of the student's learning. The teacher here helps to develop a situation for students to explain the lecture process by the students who prepare them, the materials and the learners. The teacher also tries to build the bridge between what students already know and what they currently learning. It also builds upon their reflections. Here, assessment is a continuous process at every single stage when learning. On the other side, we have the digital writing, which is agreed to be the most complex and difficult skill to be mastered. Different researchers argue that the mastery is responsible to the own skills at the expense of writing. However, with regards to the case, which are likely to be students and learn critically pedagogical changes in which the way writing is told will be completely That's the researchers were emerging to teach proper skills for the control to free approach, the pre-written approach, paragraph pattern approach, grammar syntax approach, the communicative approach, which development belong as they really focus on specified features of the language. Let's play the final program and the process through which a composition was established. Hence, the importance of the final product, which should be grammatically correct and conventionally organized. It attempts to promote language learning rather than encouraging creativity, trying to identify steps to encompass students' productions. Led to the appearance of a processor approach, and here Badger and White argued that a successful methodology to teach writing should include insights from product, process, and general approaches. Here the teacher should use different methods, strategies, and techniques to teach writing because no single technical strategy has proved to be successful one to teach writing. The problem here that writing has always been a challenging task for teachers and students due to different reasons. Maybe it's the language, type of language is difficult for the learners. Maybe the problem is with the teacher. Maybe it is the learner or some psychological details. Maybe it's the method. Although students study English for more than 7 years before university, they are still unable to produce coherently. Here the research aims to shed light on the importance of applying constructivist learning design, CLD, to teach writing and interested group. It raises the question how does the integration of CLD affect third-year students' writing performance? The procedures of this research, it is a qualitative experimental research. It starts with a pre-test conducted with 20 third-year students who were randomly chosen. These students learned for 12 weeks treatment through their Facebook group. And finally, they participated in a approach test, which is identical to the pre-test. The pre-test results, AFL learners work knowledge of appropriate vocabulary, grammar rules, syntax, phrases, and coherence. Learners' writings do not comply to stylistic failure. They are not capable of conveying ideas in written English. They showed ignorance of organizational, structural, and grammatical skills that still need to be improved. However, the essays contain errors at different levels. Well, the procedure of this research into situation where the teacher developed an arranged situation for the learners and explained the main topics. After that, the teacher divided the students into groups. It's not important whether these groups are big or small. The most important is that they are randomly divided and they share same material. The students are asked politely about their collective experience. The teacher may follow certain design in grouping the students according to their abilities as well as the availability of the needed material. The next stage is the grading. Here it is an introductory activity that is designed to examine the students' prerequisites. Here the teacher should link the learners apply knowledge and what they are currently learning. To explain the situation, teachers they present the simple problem solving with discussion in comments or something, sharing a puzzle or making this action can be done before the group or after, it doesn't matter. The task here, it can be made during each element of this learning design. Teacher give the questions from the students or from other questions to encourage and explain what they think about it. The last but not least is the exhibition. Here, teachers are advised to encourage their students to share their thoughts with their colleagues in the group. It could be achieved by following different ways, like writing a post, asking questions, commenting, sharing videos or anything, collect video, or sharing a record. Teachers here, the teacher here arranges the learners' exhibits for assessment. And finally, the reflection. Teachers asking students to reflect on their learning by explaining the situation they have learned. Learners are expected to remember from their previous experiences of different things, such as feelings in their spirits, energies, in their imagination, and the language in their internal dialogue, their attitudes, skills, and concepts. Teachers here arrange, reflect, and present what students have learned. This table showing the result of the pre and post test, and it reveals that there is slight enhancement in learners' performance. Short because it was a short time experiment. The findings show that constructivist learning design had a significant role in promoting learners' latent achievements. Teaching under this design showed that there will be a progress in the essay writing in terms of content optimization, mechanics, language that emerged from their creative thinking abilities. Teachers may increase their learners' confidence to reinforce their creativity, self-awareness through constructive learning strategies and designs. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Dr. Sarah Al-Aish. Yeah. So, and I would like to thank the presenters. Now, time for debate. So, up to the moment, I've collected the 2 questions. Third one? Yeah. So, I hope that the presenters are ready. So, the first question is addressed to Dr. Siddiqui. It says that the following: do the components of dissertation discussed in the presentation apply to all the disciplines, for example, literary, translation, or there are differences? This is a question for Dr. Siddiqui. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bilchik, for your question. Of course, we cannot apply those what I have mentioned, the techniques that I have mentioned for this study for all the research types, like literary researches or translation, because of each research has his own characteristics. For example, IMRAD means IMRAD techniques and strategies. It is used for especially for scientific researches, And especially when dealing with the scientific journals, when you have an experimental study, when you have also when you have an interview, when you have a questionnaire, for example. But when dealing with the literary researches, you should it has its own corpus, and for example, it deals with other characteristics, not like dealing always with means mention review literature or giving results and like, yeah. So we cannot apply those what I have mentioned in this research paper with other branches like literary and translation researches. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Siddiqui. Now we move to the second question. It's addressed to Dr. Saighi. You've talked about the discourse markers. One of the participants asked the following: can you suggest any practical way or approach to help students to use discourse markers well in their writing? Practical way, how? How can we apply this to solve the problem?
Well, for the question of how to, for example, yeah, how can you suggest a practical way to help students use discourse markers? Well, first of all, I advise teachers, first of all, to start teaching the different functions of discourse markers, first of all. Then how each discourse markers have different functions. Then, of course, they try to have task-based teaching. For instance, they start with sentences to teach sentences. So I start teaching discourse markers in different sentences to teach them how to use them in with different functions. Then, of course, after showing them how to use these discourse markers in sentences, I move to context. I put these discourse markers in different essays or in different paragraphs or in different oral presentations to show them how each discourse marker has a different function. And by this, they will start learning how to use them appropriately. Yes. So maybe, of course, to expose this in authentic text, of course. So not just sentences, but of course to showing them, yeah, videos, different, for example, oral presentations from different, like from different, yes, from different, no, not from different cultures, from
disciplines.
yeah, from different disciplines. That's it. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Siddiqui, and thank you, Dr. Saighi. So at the end, it's a question of how to solve the problem. We find reality, we are confronting reality. This is based on the theme of the conference, reality in our classrooms, and we need to look for a way to solve this reality in a way or another, through practice or through bringing linguistic theory to the classroom and trying to apply it and coming at solution to help teaching and learning at the same time. So we hereby come to the end of the 5th sessions, and I hereby announce the closure of the 5th session entitled Linguistic Theory and Teaching EFL Writing. And forward, the floor is to Dr. Mohammed Saghir Halimi to be the chairperson of the 6th session. Thank you very much. I thank again the presenters, and I thank again the audience. Thank you very much.
Well, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank those who are following us online, those who have been waiting for hours and hours to cover all the sessions, to attend all the sessions. I know the time difference, time set is different. I mean, countries are different, and maybe here in Nigeria we are. It is 3:30 or 3:50. In other countries, it is almost 7. So it's really tough. Now, this afternoon session, first of all, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Mohammed Sayyid Halimi from Oregon University. I'm here to preside session number 6, turning around the linguistic theory and teaching strategies. Well, this session is oscillating between theory and practice. The reason why we see teachers and researchers, you see, having different stages. I mean, teachers and younger researchers have been endeavoring to provide us with owing to their commitments, obviously, they have endeavored to provide us with new solutions, maybe. So here, this eclectical panel, which is composed of teachers from different universities, starting by IALC University, Algeria, Nama University, Algeria. Also, we have Ernest Oran, Algeria, another one in Iran, another university in Iran, and the last one is Qasdim Mirbahi University, which is ours. So, and if you see, we've got the first and the second, the third presentations are purely theoretical, while the fourth and the fifth are practical. So this difference provides a sort of richness, and it is a sort of invitation to the audience and to those who are following us online. And this would urge them a great deal to raise certain questions that I will welcome them by the end of the session, obviously. Right? So now I invite those who are following us online, you see, to invite them to attend the sessions, obviously, while the video recorded presentations are played. And we start by the first one. So the first one is Shahrazad Hamzawi from IALC University. The title of the presentation is The Significance of Teaching Linguistic Theory Inside the Foreign Language Classroom. So I invite you to follow with us, please.
First of all, I'd like to thank the organization for linguistic theory inside the foreign language classroom. My presentation is on the following content. First, I'd like to introduce the subject, then objective of the study in the perspective. After that, I'm going to talk about how linguistic theory governs and affects foreign language teaching. Then I'm going to speak about the contribution of linguistic theory to foreign language teaching, the teacher's approach to foreign language teaching, and ends my presentation with the conclusion along with some recommendations for future teaching. When we are assessing the connection between linguistic theory and language teaching, the twofold viewpoint emerged is that, on one hand, it was believed that the importance of linguistics has been overvalued. For example, in 1969, thought that it was a mistake to look to transformation of grammar or any other theory of linguistic description to provide the theoretical basis for second language pedagogy. On the other hand, it was to highly recognize the The general contribution of linguistics to language teaching. For example, Johnson points out that language teachers have always looked to linguists for guidance on how to teach language. He finds that language teachers have always considered linguistics as something of a modern discipline. Therefore, the concern with studying linguistics controls person discusses how various parts of linguistic theory have affected foreign language teachers and addresses the preference to examine the place of theoretical linguistics in foreign language classrooms. Second, it also tries to discuss or to describe the chief contribution of linguistic theory to language teaching through evaluating its appropriateness for pedagogy in order to convey meaningful and accurate insights about the target language to students. And finally, it presents an innovative teaching approach that focuses on those features of language that are of direct relevance to future language teachers. Now, let's look at how linguistic theory governs and affects foreign language teaching. Blueprint in 1922 proposed that the only efficient teacher should be the trained linguist working alongside his or her students, because language teachers often lack command of the language, and only the trained linguists know how to govern the students' journey from native speakers and how to speak the form of the language. In fact, we have to admit that excellent language teachers may not have a good command of the knowledge of linguistics in order to improve our way of teaching. The linguistic theories that have affected foreign language teaching, structuralism and behavior. The structuralist approach to language was coupled with behavioral learning principles, resulting in a scientific and cognitive application of linguistics to second language teaching in the ordinary work method. This method considers teaching and listening as the most basic language skills, which can vary to the teaching situation. In fact, nowadays in Australia, more and more people start to learn English as a foreign language in order to be able to communicate with foreigners. They believe that speaking and listening are far more important than reading and writing. Because when they need to communicate with foreigners, they can understand them and express themselves accurately. Another important linguistic theory that has affected foreign language teaching is called generativism. Chomsky's insistence on the creative characteristics of the language faculty led to the rejection of mechanical practice and a focus on the creative and innovative use of language. In 1970, a group of linguists, including Euler and Wilson, were closely in touch with teaching practice, providing language teaching and language pedagogy in a temporary linguistic direction, and even tried on real language use. As an illustration, Euler claimed that pragmatics had implications for language teaching. Through my personal experience in English teaching and learning, I noticed that having some knowledge of pragmatics can help us teach or learn English accurately and explain complex phenomena clearly, and thus make students have a profound insight into the nature of language. Still another important linguistic theory that is going to be tackled here and accepted by language teaching is functionalism. The questions examining textual analysis of language are questions of the implementation of linguistic knowledge. That is to say, how language is used in interactive discourse. For example, English active and passive clauses represent two different syntactic structures which can be used to convey a given semantic proposition. As a descriptive interval, textual approaches examine the conditions in trigger or making calls with choice in real time selection of one or the other alternative. Those conditions, in fact, are part of the target content in the target language for the foreign language learning. As far as the contribution of linguistic theory to foreign language teaching is concerned, many language teachers still believe that knowledge of theoretical linguistics is irrelevant to their practice. However, since language is built what every teacher teach and language describe, we think that areas that require linguistics should be relevant to how the concept of language always is to be defined. In fact, these are signature words. The question then is not whether language teachers should be trained in linguistics, But which aspect of linguistics should be emphasized in teacher training courses? In fact, I agree that linguistics for teachers should not be watered down linguistics courses. But I also believe that language teaching is not linguistics anymore than linguistics is chemistry. In this sense, we need to provide future language teachers with a good picture of what they are working with language and leave the rest of them. It is clear that the teacher must be skeptic and critical of linguistic skills. The theory of foreign language teaching is therefore an important aspect of teaching and learning. It is generally agreed that what happens in classroom will actually determine the success of teaching. An approach entails an answer to two questions. First, what is language? Second, how is a foreign language learned? For principled answers to these questions, the teacher must return to the linguistic theory. He must have some knowledge of linguistics. Linguistics, therefore, provides the teacher with an approach with insight, for example, the form, meaning, distinction, and indications, for example, from methods and techniques for language teaching. In reality, many of our ESL students leave the linguistics classroom without knowing how learning statistical traits or even transcribing phonetically is going to be useful for them. So as Peter correctly said, I have never met a person who is not interested in language. One way or another, most students in the humanities and social sciences can find one or more of the following uses of linguistics relevant for their generic objectives, among which linguistic inquiry in study of foreign language helps the learner discover aspects of their native language they had never thought about. Knowledge of linguistics possesses substantial advantage for improving language proficiency and learning additional languages, and linguistic knowledge helps in designing curriculum. As a consequence, an ongoing introductory course in linguistics should present not only a basic introduction to the main areas of linguistics, like for example, semantics, phonology, morphology, etc., but also to those areas that are intrinsically related to the former, like for example, linguistics and pragmatics. Finally, any other field that makes use of language for its purposes could be included as a final practical component in the course, like for example, language law, language politics, and civil sciences. I suggest here in the class with explaining in which students have to discover the rules underlying the topic for any other language, either known or unknown. Because the purpose of activities like these is to open students' minds into the vast area of linguistic principles that govern languages, at the same time that they discover how similar or different languages are in many other respects. By way of conclusion, I'd like to say that there is little or no doubt that the linguistic theory has a significant role to perform. Linguistics provides an essential education for the preparation of pedagogy, teaching programs, materials, and methodology. In the classroom, the teacher cannot proceed without any effort to linguistic theory. However, not all the answers are likely to come from linguistic theory itself. The prime linguistics actually is in the process of expanding its horizons, turning to engineering territory, such as cognitive psychology, for answers to problems which teachers have to face. Here are some recommendations for future teachers who are usually required to take language teaching methodology courses. The language teaching takes much more than studying the language and knowing how to teach it. We need to know how language works as a system, so we can make informed choices in our teaching. This way, language pedagogy, applied linguistics, and theoretical linguistics are the three pillars of language teaching. When teachers develop an innovative methodology and when they teach linguistics in a more exciting and inductive way through open-ended questions and by letting students conduct their own investigations, they will be in the right path to recognize the major role of linguistic theory in language programs. To end my presentation, I'd like to say thank you so much for to end.
Well, thank you, Dr. Shahraz Al-Hamzawi from Untitled University for this important presentation. So we move to Wahida Yaish from An-Nama University Center. So the title of presentation is Problem-Based Language Learning and Teaching, Teachers' Readiness and Student Perception. So here we have something related to the students' readiness and teachers' readiness, sorry, and the students' perception. And the student perception results eventually in the teachers' readiness to teach them, obviously. We cannot teach without having a predisposition. So we were going to listen to Wahida Yaish.
First of all, I want to express my sincere gratitude to the organization committee for accepting my contribution to this scientific event. Secondly, I am Wahida Yaish, a lecturer at Fathi Ahmed University Center of Manama. In my presentation entitled Problem-Based Language Learning and Teaching, Teachers' Readiness and Student Perception, I will first introduce my topic, explain the problem statement, cite the research objectives and applications, review the literature, explain the methodology used for the investigation of the various problem, discuss the results, present the research implications, and finally the conclusion. And the introduction between the stages of English language education in higher level in the area of Algerian higher education semiconductors, it is considered as critical for the evolution of the life world in which English is developed as an international language. In fact, problem-based language learning is advocated as one of the most pioneering approaches in the 21st century education, which can be studied for learners to become of related problem. In fact, problem-based learning contains active and content-based primary scenario. In this scenario, the students typically work in teams to inquire the problem, attain information, and make deductions. In the meantime, the teacher acts as a facilitator by providing guidance and directing the data attainment process. Accordingly, teachers' and students' roles in problem-based learning fit well with the contemporary possibilities that information and communication technology is providing. However, most EFL teachers in Hama University Center present concepts and rules in a lecture format, which is said to be the common strategy of teaching in most Algerian universities. Therefore, the current investigation intends to explore teachers' readiness to apply problem-based language learning and learners' perceptions toward problem-based language learning by taking the EFL context in Hama University Center as a case study. The current study sets around the following research questions. First, what is the teaching strategy that is most used for EFL teaching in Hama University Center? Second, do EFL teachers use problem-based language learning to benefit from the vast possibilities that information and communication technology is providing for learners? Third, what are EFL learners' perceptions toward the use of problem-based language learning? Various studies have discussed the use of problem-based learning in language education. For instance, Matthews Idinley in 2007 and Lin in 2017. In general, problem-based learning is based on a problem scenario that intends to develop knowledge and understanding. It is an experiential learning strategy that has long been acknowledged as a useful method to promote the development of a variety of skills in several educational fields. Saburi 2006 maintained that problem-based learning is an effective
is effective in developing a number of skills, including problem solving, communication, critical thinking, and collaboration. In fact, these skills subordinate directly to language skills students have to develop in any second language program. Similarly, Hearn and Hooper contended that problem-based learning affords an outlook for authentic English as a second language education and can boost English language use while endorsing skills like critical thinking, interactive communication, and self-reflection. The current investigation is an exploratory case study which aims at scrutinizing teachers' readiness through interviewing and students' perceptions toward the use of problem-based language learning through a questionnaire. The data attainment in the current investigation followed the three main stages. Firstly, the researcher conducted a number of classroom observations to identify the EFL teachers' methodologies at Naama University Center. Secondly, the researcher interviewed teachers to identify the reasons that lead them to lecturing and their readiness to adopt innovative strategies such as problem-based learning. Thirdly, the researcher as a teacher taught the target sample lessons of educational psychology and research methodology through problem-based learning for 1 month. Later on, the researcher administered the designed questionnaire. The researcher conducted an interview with 7 EFL teachers. The questions aimed to give an overview of the teacher's use of innovative strategies for the delivery of instructed materials. 5 respondents out of 7 explained that they instruct new materials through lecturing and then offer students with topics to search for out of the class time. However, 2 respondents maintained that they teach through lecturing only as it is the preferable and reliable way for students. About the students' preference, the 7 teachers answered that the majority of students prefer lecturing. Moreover, 5 teachers stated that making learning student-centered frustrated them and made them feel like they are not doing their jobs. About the challenges they face while adopting alternative strategies, the 7 teachers agreed on one challenge, that is the lack of appropriate resources. In addition, 5 teachers stated that learner autonomy is another challenge that faced them. These results may answer the first research question, which is what is the teaching strategy that is most used for EFL teaching in Naama University Center? Facing difficulty in understanding the main principles of problem-based learning and its effectiveness in language education, 5 teachers informed that they are not well informed by the nature of problem-based learning and its application in EFL classrooms. 2 teachers were knowledgeable about the principles of problem-based language learning. In another question, 6 respondents stated that they did not apply it in their classrooms before. However, 1 respondent stated that she recognized the efficiency of problem-based language learning and tried it before, but only for few sessions, as she faced resistance on the part of the students. This result may answer the second research question, that is, do EFL teachers use problem-based learning to benefit from the vast possibilities that information and communication technology is providing for learners? As far as the students' questionnaire results are concerned, the scale results showed that the participant learners have an average level of positive perceptions after experiencing problem-based learning for 1 month with 1 teacher only. The presented percentages revealed that the problem-based learning environment was not very stimulating and constituted a challenge to students who used to learn through lecturing. It appears from the results that half of the participants resist the engagement in problem-based learning, although it might be expected that problem-based learning promotes EFL learning, but when experienced, the students resisted the change. These results may answer the third research question, what are EFL learners' perceptions toward the use of problem-based language learning? The results of the current study have significant benefits in terms of directing attention towards the teacher's hesitancy of applying problem-based learning to develop EFL learners' problem solving, autonomy, critical thinking, collaboration, and communication skills. The results denoted the teacher's reluctance to adopt problem-based learning as an alternative to traditional approaches, and half of the participant students either disagreed on problem-based learning contribution to their study skills or expressed neutral positions. As a result, the implementation of problem-based learning in Algerian higher education is full of challenges like teachers' reluctance, learners' resistance, and the absence of the appropriate materials. Thus, problem-based learning application requires proper teacher training, preparing learners, and supplying appropriate teaching materials. As a conclusion, problem-based learning application is rife with challenges. It does not reflect teachers' interest in trying alternative to lecturing. Also, the problem-solving scenario established difficulties to students who accustomed learning through lecturing. The unfavorable results achieved from the teacher's interview fortified the researcher to assume that problem-based learning application requires more than training and materials, but cultivating the whole educational system to adjust to the new requirements of the global age. Finally, thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Wahida Yaish from Nama University. Well, Yahida has talked about the teacher's readiness to adopt certain strategies and the students' or the learner's perception and the extent to which they perceive these strategies. So it is rather about, let's say, I believe it's not about the more used strategies, but the more useful strategies. And I would ask a question to Wahida Yaish about the extent to whether these strategies would help the learners or would help to meet the academic expectations. This is the question, IA. If they adopt certain strategies, the teachers are ready to adopt certain strategy, and we believe maybe the learners would perceive them to a great extent. Then we would ask another question: whether these strategies, whether these strategies will meet the academic expectations. Thank you again. And we move to the second presenter. So presenters, in fact, Kisi Khalida and Sabah Jamal from Oran University. And the title of the presentation is Linguistic Theory, the Essence of Critical Pedagogy. So go forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. These are Dr. Khalida Kisi and Mr. Jamal Sabah from ENS Oran on the first International Applied Linguistics Conference, Improving Reality Through the Lens of Linguistic Theory. Our work is entitled Linguistic Theory, the Essence of Critical Pedagogy. The present work takes its roots from Spolsky's educational linguistics model, basically enhanced by a theory of language and language description and other theories that participate in the second language pedagogy. These like theory of learning held by psychology, and theory of language learning by psycholinguistics, and the theory of language use held by sociolinguistics. This itinerary follows an up-down process and achieves the first function of educational linguistics as a mediating science. In an opposite process, educational linguistics intervenes to treat language issues encountered in foreign second language classrooms. It makes reference to the set of theories previously mentioned. However, the present paper intervenes with the first process to study the way linguistic theory contributes to the development of critical pedagogy. This contribution is basically achieved with the set of language theory, language descriptions, and language properties offered in a course of linguistics at university. It is therefore among the objectives of the study to rethink the role of the module of linguistics and to understand the position of linguistic theory along EFL teaching and learning process. Learners are not supposed to receive abstract knowledge about language, as with the nature of this theory, they mechanically develop critical behavior when dealing with these theories. Moreover, when Langdon, 1999, defined the role of linguistic theory, he gives a descriptive and analytical function when he says, parallel to linguistic theory is a set of educational procedures that involve teachers, learners, each with definite tasks to deal with this knowledge. And the idea has later been sustained by other promoters of critical pedagogy, among them McKinnon, 2013, both supporting learners' personal critical consciousness and social awareness, one which Zeidner, 1998. Critical pedagogy is one of the strategies that aim at promoting cooperative relationships against oppressive ones, in Frere's 1972 words, between teachers and their students. Defends through the training of students with both intellectual and moral qualities. Along the various interests in critical pedagogy, Freebury and Luke, 1990, introduce 4 basics of critical pedagogy: 1. Code breakers, 2. Meaning makers, and 3. Text users, and 4. Text critics. Describing the features that are to be promoted in students when dealing with texts, ranging from personal attempt to decipher possible meanings to the participation with personal views and critics. The student's involvement in the understanding and the construction of texts and meanings is favored by the skills of critical pedagogy, namely critical language awareness and critical thinking. The former, as according to Taylor and al. 2017, is a quality found in students who are able to discern persuasive, not neutral, manifestations of worldviews expressed through vocabulary choices as well as syntactic and other constructions. The latter is, according to Bloom, 1956, a practice involving analysis, synthesis, and evaluation, and which Edges, 2014, put them in a set of sub-skills: understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. The conception of the present study is based on the sub-skills of critical thinking, and on the nature of theory, which is made up of different elements according to Magnuson, 2013, these like philosophy, description, prescription, and evaluation, the latter being processed by operationalization, verifiability, heuristic value, application, and other measures. From the background of linguistic theory and critical pedagogy, the present work gives rigorous attention to the teaching of the module of linguistics, and in which students are invited to participate to the understanding of linguistic theories using Magnuson's basic elements of theory and Edge's sub-skills of critical thinking. However, knowledge about language throughout linguistic theories follows a continuous process applying also to content modules, these like civilization and literature, and in which students may be exposed to text or political discourse or other kinds of discourse, especially literary and social discourses. This practice raises the students' awareness about their interlanguage in Selinker's 1972 words and its evolvement along the recognition of fossilized errors. It also supports Palmer's 1922 studial capacities, cooperative, cognitive, and deliberate learnings, and Sweet Associationism 1926, namely based on the connection between structure and mental images. Further, the critical approach to language and language use is based on reason, and learners deal critically with meaning and context, and the distinction between linguistic rules characterizing their different languages, namely the mother tongue and the foreign language in question. Through Lado's contrastive analysis, for instance, which is supported by Chomsky's linguistic competence, and Weinreich interlingual identification, and Findlay's coordinate bilinguality. To conclude, the foundation of linguistic theory and knowledge about language are themselves the foundations of the learning of English as a foreign language. This learning is mechanically designed to be critical. With this, critical pedagogy takes its essence from the codes of linguistic theory. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we move to Huida Al-Arbi, Mimuna Zitouni, and Abu Qadr bin Safa from Oran University. Always, the title presentation is Assessing the Opportunities of Obstacles of the Implementation of the Flipped Classroom in Algerian Higher Education, a teacher's perspective. Go ahead.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Before starting my presentation, I would like to thank you very much, all the organizing committee, for this opportunity of participating in this in the first International Applied Linguistics Conference, Improving Reality through the lens of linguistic theory. So, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Mr. Huida Al-Arbi, a PhD student from University of Oran 2. I'm going to present in behalf of my colleagues, Dr. Zitouni Mimouna from University of Oran 2 and Dr. Mustafa Abdul Qadir from University of Tlemcen. The theme of our topic is assessing the opportunities and obstacles of the implementation of the flipped classroom model in Algerian higher education, and this is from teachers' perspectives. So our presentation is going to follow the following structure. First of all, we have an introduction in which we outline the topic, the objective of the research, and the research question, as well as the research hypothesis. After that, we will provide a brief review of literature about the flipped classroom, in which we provide the flipped classroom genesis and origins. Then we provide some definitions regarding the flipped classroom from different scholars. Then we will provide some views about the usage of the flipped classroom in EFL teaching. After that, the followed methodology will be discussed and data collection process. Then we analyze our data. Then we provide the results and discuss them and conclude. Finally, we provide some references. There is no doubt that the rapidly developed technologies affect everything in our daily lives, including education. So, because of these technological opportunities, there has been a transformation from traditional teaching to new approaches. In this respect, choosing the appropriate among these new teaching techniques is among the priorities and responsibilities of the educational systems. So it is a big challenge to choose among these approaches. One of these innovative teaching approaches is what is called the flipped classroom model. This approach aims chiefly at providing preparation of the learner from the subject before the course, then during the class. So there is a set of tasks and activities that seek for increasing the quality of face-to-face teaching. The aim of this study is chiefly to highlight in a little more details teachers' viewpoints about the opportunities and obstacles of the adoption of this model in Algerian universities. In other words, it aims at investigating the usefulness of this model to teach English on the one side and the eventual hindrances on the other side. And according to these views, we choose whether we accept this approach or we refuse. Thus, one may ask the following question. What are the teacher's perceptions about the main opportunities and obstacles regarding the implementation of the flipped classroom model to teach English as a foreign language in Algerian higher education? The fundamental hypothesis would be formulated as follows. Algerian English teachers are likely to have different views about adopting the flipped classroom model. After introducing the topic, now we move to providing some literature review in which we talk about the flipped classroom genesis and history, providing some definitions, and then seeing the usage and the usefulness of the flipped classroom, in EFL teaching. The flipped classroom genesis. To get its current status, the flipped classroom went through many stages. According to Hartian et al., the flipped classroom model originally emerged early in the 19th century when the United States Military Academy created a set of teaching techniques in which teachers provide sources to their learners to learn before class and use the classroom time to group cooperation and solve problems. Then, based on these reflections, in the year 2000, Platt and Lage, while teaching in the University of Miami, they introduced a new teaching method. With the rise of the internet, they used to encourage students to watch education videos at home followed by group discussion in the classroom. This teaching technique was fundamentally the cornerstone of the flipped classroom, although the term was never been used before. At that time, they published their paper entitled Inverting the Classroom for Getting Things Started. Afterwards, in the year 2007, it all began in Colorado with two science teachers, Jonathan Bergman and Aaron Sams, who realized that there was no way to get materials to students who were out sick. They began recording their lessons and lectures and turned them into videos. They began to use it in their classrooms, calling it pre-broadcasting. Following that, the concept really took off. Various schools began flipping their classrooms, and the rest is history. The flipped classroom definition. Since its emergence, there were many attempts to provide this definition of the flipped classroom. Firstly, Toto and Nguyen in 2009 state that the flipped classroom is an approach that promotes active learning and allows students being able to use their knowledge in class with their instructor's guidance. Another definition was provided with Moll in 2012, in which he describes it as a model that helps students to prepare the course through videos, podcasts, and posts. Similarly, Millman states that it is an approach that seeks to enhance teaching performance via the diffusion of information to the students using videos, podcasts, and the application during the course through classroom discussions and group work. Another definition was introduced by Bishop and Verler in 2013, in which they see that the flipped classroom is a two-part learner-based teaching model with interactive teaching experiences during and outside the classroom. However, Sams and Bergman, who were introduced before, claimed that in the flipped classroom approach, what is done at school, done at home. Homework done at home, completed in class. According to these definitions, one can say that, unlike traditional classes, the flipped classroom model is based on the idea of inverting the teaching settings. This means that the learners use various teaching materials outside the class time, are followed by a classroom appliance, discussion, and team works. The usage of the flipped classroom in EFL teaching. In this part, we'll provide some researches on the usage and usefulness of the flipped classroom in EFL teaching from different perspectives. In its first years of emergence, the flipped classroom model was used in many fields, such as economics, science, medicine, engineering, and so on. However, in the field of IALC, English language teaching, there were many attempts regarding the utilization of this model in EFL teaching, such as Hong, John et al., Jordan, Seaman, and Nabi, to name a few. Generally speaking, the findings of these researchers reveal that this model has significant impact on the EFL learner's performance. For example, in his study, John et al. Come up with the conclusion that the flipped instruction is an appropriate instructional design for teaching English as a foreign language in general. In their view, this innovative student-centered active learning leads to beneficial outcomes, and this due to the fact that this model provides authentic spoken and written interaction using familiar technology that did not involve a large learning curve. By the same token, Basel conducted research in which he indicated some flipped classroom benefits in EFL teaching and learning, such as learning at one's own pace, advanced student preparation, overcoming the limitation of class time, and increasing participation. More recently, Al-Annabi, Abdullah, and Lin and Huang, all of them reveal that the flipped classroom model is so beneficial in terms of grammar, speaking, and improving students' knowledge. All in all, one can say that the previous educational researchers affirm the usefulness of the flipped classroom model as an approach in EFL teaching that replaces the traditional face-to-face educational techniques and approaches. But the question is this model useful in Algeria in EFL teaching? After reviewing some literature about the flipped classroom, now let's move to the methodology. This study aims fundamentally at revealing the teacher's perceptions towards the opportunities and obstacles of flipped classroom model in teaching and learning English as a foreign language in Algerian universities. So, the participants were 13 EFL teachers from different Algerian universities. So this sample was deliberately chosen in order to get information and data from different affiliations. This research study was conducted during the first semester of the academic year 2020 and 2021, and it is done online via Google Forms questionnaire. The method used is a descriptive qualitative approach, and the data was collected using teachers' questionnaire that aims at discovering the different perspectives vis-à-vis the flipped classroom model. The collected data could be analyzed as follows. Regarding the participant age, it is between 25 years old and 49 years old. Regarding the gender, 37 of the participants were male and the rest 63 are female. 13.33% hold master degrees. 3.33% got a magister degree, and the remaining ones are follows. 23.33% are PhD students, and 60% hold doctorate degree. Regarding their affiliation, they belong to different universities, namely Tlemcen, Galma, Algiers 2, Oran, Khanchla, Biskra, Constantine, Jelfa, and Bijaya University. When it comes to the teaching experience, the sample is a variety of new, fresh teachers and experienced teachers. In this part of the questionnaire, we seek to check the respondents' knowledge and familiarity with the flipped classroom. So the data reveal that 66% of the participants do not have knowledge, while the rest declare that they have no idea what is meant by this model. Regarding their experience with the model, only 11 lecturers respond positively, and the rest reply that they have never used this technique. Among those who already use it, they were that there have been some enjoyable, fruitful, motivational, and helpful moments. However, the rest find it difficult, and there is a lack of motivation among students. Speaking about the learners' feedback, some professors reply that there were positive feedback. However, the rest affirm that there were no feedback due to the lack of means and internet connectivity. The next question aims at reviewing and viewing the respondents' views about the flipped classroom. So 21 of the respondents affirm that this approach is useful. The rest reply differently. Also, the majority see that the flipped classroom is useful for all language skills, though there was a focus on speaking and writing skills. The data also reveal that the majority of the teachers have positive insights about reverting the classroom. This reveals guidance, readiness, and acceptance to adopt new methods. As shown in this table, the majority agree about the fact that the flipped classroom can replace the traditional teaching. Also, they agree about that the courses are better delivered through the flipped classroom. Also, the flipped classroom allows teachers to effectively interact with learners and to test them. Also, the flipped classroom is useful to enhance learners' linguistic capabilities. Finally, the respondents see that adopting the flipped classroom has advantages and disadvantages. Among the advantages, it raises the learner's autonomy, it enhances their skills, it enables them to be more active, it helps them gain time and offer efficient use of class time and provides more practices. On the other hand, among the pitfalls that the respondents believe are that it is complex and needs time to be familiar with. It is tiring to transfer the courses to handouts. Also, it is hard to assess the learner's advances and teaching outcomes. Also, there is a lack of technological advancement in Algeria and the lack of ICT skills of some teachers. After analyzing the gathered data, it has been come up to the following results. On the one hand, using the flipped classroom has positive sides, such as enabling both learners and teachers to expand the learning time, and emphasizing peer-to-peer interaction, which enhances the learner's linguistic skills. Also, it enhances the use of materials from different sources. This attitude is likely to have positive impacts on the learning outcomes. Also, regarding the data, there is an acceptance among the Algerian teachers. This means that the implementation process would be welcome, easy, and smooth without any eventual personal complications. On the other side, adopting this model has some challenges, such as It requires some tools and materials, both at university and at home, such as PCs, laptops, printers, smartphones, and internet connectivity. Also, it is hard to evaluate the learner's achievements since their work will be at home. Finally, the transition from traditional techniques to the flipped classroom model may take time and effort because the majority of EFL teachers are accustomed to use other traditional techniques. So, in order to apply this model, they may have some training session and some revisions of the syllabus, and also develop a new curricula that keeps pace with this technique. In conclusion, one can say that adopting such didactic practice is, on the one side, welcome, efficient, useful, and for both the learners and the teachers. On the other side, it might have some hindrances, such as the deficiency in the required facilities and tools, the lack of experience among learners, and the required implementation time. This is why the researchers aim in the future at conducting some studies about the implementation process of this blended learning model. And here are some references that may help you in reading some information about the flipped classroom. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you all the best of luck and success of this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, now we move to the last presentation by Rayhana Fourer and Dr. Ahmed Bashar from Qasim Mirbah University of Furgla. The title presentation is EFL Readers' Aesthetic Response to Words from Euleic Sequences.
My name is Rayhana Fourer, and I'm a PhD student at the University of Qasim Mirbah in Algeria. Today, I'm going to present in this first International Applied Linguistic Conference held by the Department of English Language and Literature at Wurgla University, and which is entitled Improving Reality Through the Lens of Linguistic Theory. So, let's get started. The topic of my presentation is EFL Reader's Aesthetic Response towards Formulaic Sequences. The outline for this presentation is as follows. The problem, which is the first step in the conduction of any research. The post-research questions, the specific research aim, the methodological framework, the included population and sampling. Then, we move on to the main obtained results in addition to the implications for this study. After that, we will end up by the final conclusion. The problem. As the point of departure, reading can be defined as a complex intellectual process wherein readers attempt to fathom the underlying meaning of the writer and to enjoy the reading journey as well. Having said that, we can elicit that there are two types of reading, the afferent or non-aesthetic reading, in addition to the aesthetic reading. This distinction has been made based on the aim that lies behind the act of reading. However, we are mainly concerned with the aesthetic type of reading, and which is the second one. Accordingly, we thought about what would lead readers to aesthetically respond to a literary text. In fact, the body of literature has previously suggested a set of stylistic and literary devices such as foregrounding, metaphor, and so on and so forth. It also suggested that the aesthetic response can be evoked through a set of formal and functional features. On this basis, we uphold formulaic sequences as a tentative proposition, and which is the backbone of our study. To be clear, formulaic sequences refer to those multi-word expressions and fixed or even semi-fixed expressions and sequences that are retrieved and used in a language without being obliged to generate sentences from scratch in each time or in the time of use. To put things more simply, formulaic sequences are suggested as a stimulus that can trigger EFL readers' aesthetic response, and this will be explored via their attitudes in the present study. The questions that we would like to see their answers are the following. What are EFL readers' attitudes towards formulaic sequences in literary texts? Do EFL readers believe that formulaic sequences can increase their aesthetic response towards a literary text? For the research aim, we intended to pursue such study in order to explore EFL readers' attitudes towards the role that formulaic sequences may play on their aesthetic response in general and aesthetic feelings in particular when engaging in the process of reading. Now, let's turn right up to the methodology for this study. As a research approach, we adopted the qualitative one because such an approach enables us to explore humans' attitudes and opinions. For the research design, survey design was used. With regard to data collection methods, a Likert scale questionnaire was undertaken. This questionnaire was created using Google Forms and online administered so that we can easily and safely access the respondents because of the current situation of COVID-19. Here we should mention that this questionnaire consisted of two parts. The first one was devoted for demographic data, whereas the second part was devoted to Likert scale questions that were extracted from the statement of the problem itself. Let's proceed by the population and sampling. In this particular research, English as a foreign language readers, or EFL readers, including students and teachers, were chosen as a target population. For the sample, we have used a random sampling technique to choose the respondents for our questionnaire, who were 53 respondents as a total number. The results show that 77.4% from our sample were female, while 22.6% were male. As for the educational level, 64.2% of the respondents hold a master's degree, 13.2% hold a PhD degree, and the rest varied from holding a bachelor's degree into pursuing secondary school studies. To make sure that we are dealing with a sample that loves and enjoys to read literary texts in English, it was asked a question in that respect. As you can see from this bar chart, the results demonstrate that the majority of the respondents do love and enjoy reading. Concerning the second part of the questionnaire, each respondent was supposed to choose the choice or the option that best corresponds to his or her attitude. The choices or the options ranged from strongly disagree to strongly agree, as it is the usual case for a Likert scale questionnaire. Here, we are going to mention only the main results deduced from the respondents' answers. The first one, which is EFL readers responded positively to combine formulaic sequences to the structure of a literary text. First, 54.7% of the respondents agreed on formulaic sequences as a device that can help the writer to reflect his or her creativity and to turn his or her style into an impressive one for the reader. Second, they reckon that using well-known formulaic sequences will not have a negative effect on the writer's style, but rather that kind of predictability and high frequency of the sequence can be beneficial to EFL readers because of their small linguistic word that it is totally different from that of native speakers. As a second main result, EFL readers believe that their aesthetic response towards a literary text can be stimulated by formulaic sequences. In fact, 81.2% of the respondents agreed and strongly agreed that formulaic sequences can promote the aesthetic pleasure and impression to the reader of a literary text. However, not all types of formulaic sequences can evoke the same degree of pleasure and enjoyment. That is to say, some sequences such as idioms and collocations can be more pleasantly rhythmic in comparison to other sequences such as phrasal verbs. And this result was confirmed by the respondents when 77.4% agreed and strongly agreed on it. This pie chart shows a sample from the results of one of the items of the questionnaire. As you can see, the highest percentage of the respondents, which is 52.8%, agreed on the idea that formulaic sequences can maximize EFL readers' aesthetic response towards the literary text. As implications for this study, EFL readers are urged to familiarize themselves with the different types of formulaic sequences, so that they won't meet comprehension problems, and at the same time they can enjoy themselves during the process of reading. Researchers are also recommended to undertake further empirical studies on formulaic sequences within the area of stylistics, especially that formulaic language has not been much explored in relation to literature. To conclude with, reaching a successful reading journey requires being aware of the different stylistic devices that arouse aesthetic feelings. That's why this study was deemed necessary. Accordingly, it aimed to heighten the importance of formulaic sequences by exploring EFL readers' attitudes towards their integration in literary texts. Again, I'm Rayhana Forar, and this is the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.
Well, thank you, Rehana Furar, for your presentation. Now, we're expecting your questions. If not, I'm going to ask a question to Yahya Yaish from Nama University. So the question is, you have talked about the strategies and asking whether these strategies meet the academic expectations.
Well, good morning. First of all, I am Wahida Yaish from Nama University Center. According to the question you have asked, I want to say something before that as university teachers, we are not obliged to use a certain methodology. I learned English through lecturing, and now I try some alternative strategies in my classrooms. Problem-based language teaching and learning is an innovative strategy that has been widely researched. But my research was mainly concerned with teachers' readiness and learners' perceptions. But if we are to judge its effectiveness in achieving academic expectations, I need to conduct an experimental research with an experimental group and control group and test the experimental group before the application of the strategy and after the application of the strategy to test its effectiveness to judge that it is effective for the achievement of academic requirements. This is what I can say for your question.
Yes, if you allow me to ask another question.
Yes, of course, you're welcome.
You have talked about, I'm going to substitute used by useful, or let's say useful for used. What is the more used strategies? Let's say useful instead of used. Why don't we haven't used useful instead of used strategies? Because we are talking about the readiness of the teachers and the perception of the student. So there's certainly a usefulness, not the use. So if it is already used, so needless to say that teachers are ready, we ask whether the teachers are ready or not. And we ask about the extent to which the students perceive these strategies. So we talk, I believe, we talk more about the usefulness and not the use of the strategy. What do you think, you? And maybe the audience, can ask the same question or share me the point or comment the list.
I said that I cannot say that the method is useful or not for the achievement of academic requirements. If I about to say that it is useful, I need to test it in my classroom for the teaching of a specific skill, like listening, reading, writing, grammar. If the results of the test results are, or the students' outcomes
are ameliorated by the technique, here we may say that it is useful.
Yes. Thank you for your answer, for your patience with me. So
No, you're welcome.
now we are expecting questions from the audience, obviously, or yes, and you can, you can use the mic, to talk. Yes, activate your mics, please. Yes, discussion.
Hi, everyone. We are Mr. and Mrs. Sabah from Luanasoran, and we are very happy and glad to meet you today in this international conference.
Thank you.
We would like also to thank University of Azdimirbah, the English Language Department. This is a good opportunity to know each other and one another, and a good opportunity to share academic knowledge, of course, and our experience as a teacher. I would like to salute my colleague, Dr. Al-Arbi Mumdan. Hi, Arbi, because he is from Oran too, and we know each other. Thank you, Dr. Halimi. This is a great pleasure to have you today in our home. And we would like to present all our gratitude for hosting us today in Azdimirbah University. Thank you so much.
You're the most welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So concerning the presentations, we have seen some very interesting topics. We would like to thank all the doctors and the audience for participating in this very useful international conference, because we have shared so many information with my colleague and wife, so much information by my colleague and wife, and for this experience, which is unique as you may say, and for having this from Algerian University is something great. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you. If there's someone to be thanked, is Dr. Bithouria for organizing this international conference.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, sir. Yes,
thank you. You're the most welcome.
I'm going to assign the floor to Mrs. Kisi, Dr. Kisi.
Thank you.
Yes, hi everybody. I'd like to thank the University of Woodbridge for this very nice organization. And I think that it is the first of its kind in Algeria. And I mean, in response to this, to these circumstances and the COVID circumstance and the situation, if you want, it has been, let me say that it is a successful event. And we have been enriched by the variety of knowledge we have acquired from the set of participations. And I am thankful, very thankful to this. I would like to ask by this, I mean, a question to Dr. Hamzawi, I think, who worked on the linguistic theory and especially the linguistic or the teaching of linguistics as I mean, a discipline at university. I would like to ask her if, I mean, there is a way to raise the attention of teachers and at the same time learners in the way they should acquire knowledge about language throughout the discipline, which is linguistics. So this is my question.
Yes, Dr. Hamdawi.
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everyone. I'm very delighted to attend this conference, which has been very, very fruitful for all of us, since we have acquired too much information throughout all the presentations that have been presented by all the participants. And by the way, I would like to congratulate everyone for their participation. Thank you, Dr. Casey, for your question. So first of all, let me go back to the words expressed by Professor Marc Letourneau this morning, who has said that linguistic theory is maybe the most important feeder discipline of applied linguistics. In fact, we cannot we cannot speak about language teaching without having reference to linguistic theory. In fact, linguistic theory will always be behind the teacher. So let me say that it has a direct influence on his approach to language teaching. So every teacher, and even speaking about myself, has his own approach, either conscious or unconscious, in order to teach a foreign language. So the task of language teaching prompts the teacher, let me say, almost invariably to think about the nature of language. For example, his theory of language will determine whether he presents the language analytically or non-analytically to the learners. So I can say that theory of foreign language teaching is an important aspect, let me say, of teaching and learning. So an approach here may include an answer to two important questions that each teacher has to take into consideration. First, what is language? Whenever you want to teach a language, you have to ask yourself, what is language and how is a foreign language learned, okay, in order to convey a certain message. So for principled answer to these questions, me as a teacher, I have to turn to the linguistic theory. So I cannot do without linguistic theory. So we must have knowledge about linguistics, including phonetics, phonology, semantics, pragmatics. So all these levels of analysis are very important in order to convey a certain message to our students, and they are present in all our subjects. So taking into consideration, for example, the subject of written expression. So when teaching written expression, we have to know more about the grammar of the language to teach our students. We also need to teach them pronunciation. So linguistics is there. It is a feeder discipline. And let me say that there is an alliance between linguistic theory and applied linguistics. So language teaching is part of applied linguistics, and there is also an alliance between these two theories in order to be a good teacher. So thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Sharaz Al-Hamzawi. Thank you. Now, I think Al-Arabi Boumediene wants to say something. You're the most welcome. And also,
good afternoon, everybody.
Yes, let me give him the floor. Dr. Bougabs.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I thank you very much for having organized this precious international conference. This has been an opportunity for us to know each other. I congratulate all of you for this nice organization, and I say hello to those I already know, such as Mr. and Mrs. Sabah, and I hope that our students, all students, any students, will take benefits of all what has been said. And I wish there will be other opportunities, such opportunities to meet. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lago. Now, the floor is yours, Madam Bougabs Radia. Yes. Would you activate your mic, please?
Yes. Okay. Now, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, Dr. Radia Bougabs from the UNS of Constantine. Well, I was so glad to attend this conference. Otherwise, my presentation in the morning was so I think that the afternoon is better than the morning. Yeah. Okay. So I'd like to ask Dr. Quid Al-Arbi
he introduced an important topic, which is one of the interesting issues that higher education teachers should raise concerning the implementation of a flipped classroom, mainly that you are within a special moments. Do you think that an Algerian EFL teacher is ready now to implement and to adopt the flipped classroom in his design, knowing that many obstacles could face him at the level of with himself, with his students, and with the environment he's working with? Well, this is as far as a teacher. How about the learner and the students himself? Do you think that students are now ready to integrate or to be integrated within this new teaching methodology that I think could bring many solutions, is effective at different levels, not only facilitating the teaching learning process and mainly affecting other cognitive skills with the learner, which is given opportunity for the teacher to focus more on developing learners' critical thinking, and mainly that in-class environment will be devoted for activities that promotes critical thinking progress. So I'd like to, it is not a question, but rather a kind of issue I would like to share with my colleague teachers at the University of Oran. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bogibbs. Now, I would like to listen to Dr. Olga from Ukraine and Dr. Shelly Mijda from Constantine. Yes, if you have any comment, obviously.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to tell you that I'm very happy to be with you today, and I appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you.
It's I'm enjoying listening to you because in these days, during the pandemic, we need the live communication. We miss communication. We miss human contacts, and it's very interesting. So just to listen to my colleagues, I can tell you that we have very similar challenges with our students at our universities, and we are looking for different solutions, so for effective ways of teaching our students these days. I'm thinking about flipped classroom. So, and if Ukrainian teachers are ready, probably not all of them are ready. So I should I want to mention that we are somewhere in the transition, maybe, yes, from traditional classroom to something new. So we're trying, just new techniques, new strategies. So what works well? And maybe just to think about different changes in higher education, and there is a discussion, yes. So what to change, how to change. So, and probably we have to change teacher roles and student roles, and everybody, yes. So just to look at teaching from different perspectives.
Yes, I do agree. Because, yes, Dr. Olga, because a learner is a learner, being hero, they are the same, I mean, you see? And we are in need of applying certain linguistic theory. Obviously, everyone has to apply it his way. And according to the, I go back to our colleague Yahya Yaish, you see, according to the teacher readiness and the learner's perception. That's it. So we come back to the point raised by our colleague. Now I think we have to give the floor to Dr. Shelly Mijda, obviously. She's raising her hand. Thank you, Dr. Olga.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Very happy to.
Could you please, Dr. Shelley, raise your voice?
Okay. So good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yes, it's okay now.
It's okay. Well, I'm very pleased to.
Okay, so let's give the floor to Arabic women, I think. Okay. Dr. Shelley, we cannot follow you. The problem of probably the problem of connection. I'm inviting another participant to intervene now, to comment.
If I can add something.
Yes, you're the most welcome, Dr. Olga.
Because I'm thinking about the topic of this conference, yes, and the role of linguistics. As to Ukraine, you know, traditionally, so we train our future teachers and linguistics, general linguistics, theoretical linguistics, and all aspects that you have mentioned. All these are compulsory courses. Our future teachers take these courses. It's a tradition in my country. So that's why I was a bit surprised that you have to maybe fight, yes, for this discipline. And so actually we cannot imagine how we can prepare future teachers, yes, without this theoretical knowledge. Yes, because practice should be based, yes, on good theory. And teachers should know how to explain, yes, different things. And as to problem-based learning and teaching, I want to also to make a comment.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, so because there was one presentation, yes, on problem task, yes, or problem-based. Am I right? Yeah. So problem-based learning is very effective and useful in my country, from my experience. And my students, I mean, Ukrainian students, perceive it very positively. So they like, so these strategies and these tasks, problem-solving tasks, because they may help not only to increase their language knowledge, but also develop different skills which are very important for them. These days, we focus not only on the development of the linguistic competence in our students, but the focus is on the development of intercultural communication competence as well, and developing soft skills. And we also look at linguistics as an interdisciplinary subject these days.
Yeah.
So just such approaches.
So, thank you, Dr. Olga, and I think even my colleagues who are listening to you now agree upon this, because it is the same here in Algeria. Quite the same thing. And linguistics is linguistics, being in Algeria or in Ukraine or in China. So linguistics is linguistics. But I've told you the way it is read, the way it is perceived, the way it is applied might be different. That's all. Thank you, Dr. Olga. So we give the floor to Dr. Kisi Sabah, or let's give the floor to first to Dr. Shelley Majda. Yes.
Yes.
Then afterwards, you. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry, Dr. Casey, I took the floor before you said. Sorry, Dr. Casey.
Okay, yes.
Hear me?
Cannot hear you, Dr. Shelley. Sorry. Your voice is too Low.
Yeah.
Could you use a mic, please?
Yes, the mic.
Yes. Or get close to the
Is it okay?
device you're
now?
using.
Is it
Sorry?
okay now? Is it okay now?
It's much better. Much better. Let's go ahead, please.
It's simply, sorry to take the floor before you, Dr. Casey.
No, it's
simply
okay.
to, it's okay. It's simply to continue the idea of Dr. Olga. In fact, we do have similar concerns. And I think, and I ask Dr. Olga if you agree with me. I think that
I cannot hear the question.
Yes, the problem is in her voice. Yes, alas. So, Dr. Casey, please.
Yes, hi again. I would like to answer Dr. Olga. I have a difficulty to pronounce her family name. I'm sorry. So just concerning the question about linguistics as a module. So in our country, it is more than a tradition. So you said that it is traditional to teach linguistics and to know about linguistics in your country. So in our country, it is more than a tradition, since as myself as a teacher and similarly all my colleagues, who belong to the same generation as me, we have been dealing with linguistics as a module since 1996. Okay. So this is why, the idea is that, in raising the point about linguistics as a very important science or discipline in applied linguistics or in pedagogy, is that we would like to move forward to apply this science for other reasons, for other purposes, which are, if you want, recent purposes, recent in, problematically raised as recent problems. So in this sense, critical pedagogy is one of these issues. We would like to apply linguistic knowledge and any knowledge about language for critical purposes, especially for the learning of linguistics as a module and other modules that I named in my participation as content modules. And I think that this idea has not been raised before by any research work, because I have, in fact, I have invaded this, if you want, the net, in order to look for a topic which have tackled the idea of the participation or the contribution of linguistics as a module or linguistic theory to critical pedagogy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Casey. Just please, Dr. Casey Sabah and Dr. Jamal, Casey Khalid Sabah, would you deliver my greeting to Professor Rahal?
Yes, we will. We will.
She's my sister.
She's
my sister. It will be done. It will be done.
Welcome.
Be sure.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Now we go back to Dr. Shelley. Yes, we are all ears. Yes.
Yes. Well, what I wanted to say is that I agree with Dr. Olga.
Get close.
So please read my in the discussion. Can you please read, Professor Halimi, my remark from the discussion box?
Yes, please. Who can help me? Yes, I'm going to read. Yes, click this one. What is discussion box? This one. Yes, which one? Yes, I will read. Dr. Olga, please follow me. Yes, I'm going to read. I agree. Okay. I agree with Dr. Olga that was, yes, that what is important for us as a context is the intercultural communicative competence, and that it is high time to approach linguistic theory from a cross-linguistic perspective and not a purely monolinguistic perspective. Did you get it? Yes.
You know, it depends how you see, how you perceive linguistics. So what is linguistics to you?
Absolutely.
You know?
Definitely. Definitely. Thank you, Dr. Shelley, for your comment. You see, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It is very, very interesting discussion, as Dr. Breed said, obviously. Dr. Wahida Yaish, don't you have any question, any comment before leaving?
No, thank you. I want just to thank you for the well organization. And I really enjoyed the participation in this scientific event. And I was with you from the early morning. I benefited a lot from the presentations, including my session and the other sessions, just to enlarge our knowledge and to know about the recent researches in the context of foreign language teaching and learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we are all expecting you tomorrow, right? Morning, inshallah.
Yes, inshallah.
Thank you. Well, I have nothing to say because of the tough time, we cannot keep on discussing. Although the discussion, this afternoon discussion is very, very interesting. I do believe in that, at least as far as I'm concerned, obviously. As I have to thank Dr. Kisi and Dr. Sabah Jamal, it is an opportunity to meet guys from UNS Oran, you see. As I have, it is my pleasure to know Dr. Olga and Dr. Wahida Yesh, in addition to my sister, Dr. Majdi Shalla. Thank you all, and inshallah, we meet tomorrow morning.
Inshallah.
Thank you. I did declare the session closed.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.